episode of the Downkirk podcast. I'm Ethan Downing.
And I'm Robert Kirkendall III.
And today we were just talking about Coke. And, I was watching, do you ever see the Where's My Jet documentary on Netflix?
My Pepsi, Where's My What documentary?
Pepsi, Where's My Jet documentary.
Oh, no.
It's either Pepsi, Where's My Jet or Where's My Jet, Pepsi. One of the two. But it's about, it's a true story about what happened in the 80s, about how, it's either the 80s or 90s where they had Pepsi points where you could pay. So, like, if you kept a certain amount of labels, you could, you could earn stuff. Like, you can get a T-shirt. Or you could, send in your points, get a T-shirt, get a pair of sunglasses, get, a leather jacket, basic stuff. But in the commercial, they showed a guy with a Harrier jet. And then they showed him landing, and then it said, Harrier jet, 7 million points. And, it was kind of like a joke. But then they didn't have a disclaimer saying, not really. We can't really. And then, so the guy's like, all right. And then he looked up the price of a Harrier jet. It was $32 million. And he figured out that you could buy Pepsi points for 10 cents a piece. And he said if he did that, it only cost $700,000. So you can get a Harrier jet for $700,000. And so he did that. And then he sued Pepsi. And he's like, where? I want it.
Dude. Have you seen that they had a whole thing, dude? A Pepsi. It's really cool. Pepsi had this whole promotion to go to space. They're going to do the space tours.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, to do that thing, the Hyperloop, where it goes up just a little bit above the atmosphere and then back down.
Right, yeah. It basically goes right on the right where outer space begins, and then back down.
Which even that is still crazy because people don't realize that's about 380,000 feet.
Well, yeah. Anybody who says that's not space is, I always people are well, yeah, they went to space. Dude, that's to go.
If I can see black. Yeah, I would consider it space. You know what I mean? If I feel like I'm in a Star Trek episode, I'm in space.
If I feel like I'm in a Star Trek episode. Dude, that was so cool, by the way, talking about how William Shatner went up to space. He needed to at some point.
Yeah, that's
if
true.
You're gonna have anybody, what I
still have the soundboard. I still have it.
What I was gonna say was that it's cool though that because they actually still have that. It's like PepsiCo points, though, I think is what they're called now.
Well, they don't have the same system.
No, they don't. To where you can buy a Harrier jet.
They did that with Coke. Coke had. A lot of them are just sweepstakes.
Yeah.
You turn in a certain number of bottle caps, and the bottle cap has a serial number, little plastic bottle caps, and then they call a serial number, and if you win that, if you get that serial number, then you win $1 million. My mom actually, so she used to drink the mini bottles of Coke that they'd sell in the packs. They'd sell it so they would either sell the larger 16-ounce plastic bottles in the 6-packs, or they'd sell the smaller, shorter bottles in the 12-packs. You know what I'm talking about? And it was
why? I don't get the appeal of the short packs, by the way. I don't know. It seems so.
It's weird. So she would get the 12-packs of Coke, the little plastic bottles, because you'd get more bottle caps. That was her thing. More bottle caps for less money.
Why would you want bottle caps?
Because the bottle caps were like I was saying, the sweepstakes things.
So
okay. She kept all of hers for the sweepstakes, and she would drink. And she did this. I'm not even joking with you. She did this for 8 years. She drank for 8 years. She would drink 2 to 3 of the little 12-ounce plastic bottles of Coke every day without stop, nonstop. She would sit.
She doesn't even like Coca-Cola.
And it's weird because she's not fat. She's a little chubby, but you'd think that with the amount of Coke that she's drank in her life, that it would be she would be 400 pounds. But she's not.
I've drank a lot of Coke. I think Coke burns more calories sometimes because it's so acidic. I think it helps you.
Burns along in your stomach.
I saw this video where it's what happens to your body if you drink a Coke a day. And everything, we're just going to skip that. I don't need my mind to be ruined. Have you ever, I love it when people are do you even know what's in that hot dog? And I go, meat? And that I was that's all I need to know. I don't need to know what they put in the hot dog. It tastes good to me, But I cannot imagine, though, your mom just could you imagine her just chugging a Coke a day? That's crazy.
She wasn't drinking it she was trying to get through them. She was that was her daily ritual.
Still, though, what?
And she would pour it. She'd always pour it into a glass of ice, too. Which is kind of nice. It's something I would do too. I like having ice. For me, I know you don't know a big ice guy, but
dude, you're taking pure Colombian cocaine and you're like, let's just put a little bit of let's just put a little bit of detergent in it, like baking soda. Like it's good. It still hits the same. I mean, no, dude. This is pure Coca-Cola, dude. You don't dilute it with water.
First of all, you don't know what you're talking about because the preferred drinking temperature of Coca-Cola, if you look up on their website, is 35 degrees, which is just above freezing, and it's impossible to take a plastic bottle or to take a metal can out of the fridge. By the time you're halfway through drinking it, it's well over 40 degrees, probably 45, maybe even 50 degrees. And so it's like, it does lose some of that flavor. Because, all right, we can both admit that hot to warm Coke is not good.
Okay.
Like, warm Coke is one of the worst things I've ever had.
Yeah, when you're talking about, okay, hot anything is almost the worst. Like, there's so few drinks I like hot, right? Like, so
well, in terms of sodas, but some sodas are pretty decent warm or room temperature. Like Mountain Dew is pretty decent.
No, I think, dude, my Coke's room temperature right now, it's great. I think room temperature pop's good. I think when you describe something as hot though, dude, you were like, one time I drank hot water and it was worse than drinking like anything. I would have rather not drink water. Like it did the opposite to hydrate.
That's how I feel about warm Coke.
What do you mean warm Coke, dude? Room temperature isn't warm. Room temperature is like 60 degrees.
It's more than double. It's more than double. If it's 70 degrees, it's more than double the preferred drinking temperature.
Are you pulling out thermometers? Like, how do we even know? What is room temperature?
What I'm saying is, if it's cold, if it's really, really cold,
dude,
and you put it in the freezer even for a few minutes, like if it's cold to the touch, like it's difficult to touch, like it's difficult to hold the can.
No, dude, it's not.
That's what I'm saying. And then it slides over ice into your mouth. That's the best thing in the world.
Because I don't like Slurpees, okay? Because I don't like my Coca-Cola to be a Slurpee, because I like it to be an actual drink, okay? Doesn't mean that it's any worse of a drink. All right? Because I don't want it like with chunks of ice in it. By the way, what is temperature? I want to look that up real quick.
I heard it was 35 degrees.
What?
Wait, what is room temperature?
What is room temperature? Because I feel like it's...
You know that room temperature is different depending on what room you're in.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's like an average, I'm sure. Like, I would imagine...
Yeah, the average is like 60, 70 degrees.
Yeah,
that's like what most rooms are.
But they always say room temp.
Some people, if you have it really hot, like... Yeah, I mean, it'll usually be between like 75 and like...
It says the average is about 68.
Yeah.
That's what they mean, right around 68, which is what we're thinking. I just mean people say it though, and like they could like, what if they meant like room temp when you're in a sauna? Yeah, that's about room temp.
Yeah.
You mean the burning hot chocolate? That's room temp.
But either way, one of the things why I brought up the Pepsi documentary is because throughout the documentary they had people trying like a cup of Coke and a cup of Pepsi to see which one they like better. And Coke won, by the way. They had like 11 different people, and it was like 6. And the documentary was about Pepsi. And they had 6 people choose Coke, and they had 5 people choose Pepsi. And to be honest, I'm surprised it was that close. Because they told people like, oh man, some people were like, I get that like you might like one over the other. I get that. But don't tell me that you can't tell a difference, because I've tried both of them right next to each other, and some people were literally like, oh, I can't tell the difference. I guess this one. And I'm like, you're insane if you can't tell the difference.
Their taste buds are literally mentally challenged. Like, if you can't tell the difference, they are significantly 2 different flavors.
It's such a dramatic difference.
I hate it.
So different.
Yeah. I hate it when people are like, oh, like, you know, you're like, hey, can I get Coke? And they're like, Pepsi good? You know, like as if Pepsi was like an equal substitute. I mean, I get what they're saying, but like,
I don't mind it, but I definitely know it's a different thing.
This is what people are
like, who cares? It's the same thing.
Yeah, well, I'm saying like, okay, like you go, hey, can I get Mountain Dew? And they go, hey, well, I can piss in your drink. Would you like that instead? You know, like that's what they're asking you. And I don't mean because Pepsi's that bad. I mean, that's how different they are in taste.
It used to be back when Sierra Mist was big and Mellow Yellow was big. If you asked for a Mountain Dew or a Sprite, it'd be like, is Mellow Yellow or a Sierra Mist okay? Sierra Mist was so crazy because that's like one of the rarest of the clear sodas. Of the clear sodas, that's like the one that gets talked about the least. Which I don't even think they're not even called Sierra Mist anymore. They're like, it's like Mist Twist or something like that.
Mist Mountain.
It's like something else. Yeah, like they're not even around anymore, which is funny. But do you know that they used to have a Crystal Pepsi? You ever hear about that?
I know that.
It is Pepsi, but it's clear.
Is it
that
good?
Was like the thing. I don't know. I never had it. It discontinued like before we were born. So
Here's the thing. I like Pepsi a lot, actually. I would go to bat for Pepsi. Like if someone wants to talk bad about Pepsi, I'd go to bat for it. But
I like it, but you have to recognize it's a different thing.
that's what I was about to say. I was about to say that. I like it for what it is, right? Like I don't like it because it's like Coke. I like it because it's different, you know?
It's just not even close. Like I don't get how it's like the same thing with like now Mellow Yellow and Mountain Dew are even closer, I would say, than Coke and Pepsi.
Dude, the one that I really don't know if I could tell the difference is like 7-Up and Sprite. Like those, some of those clear ones are so close.
7-Up leans heavier into the lime flavor than
That's
Sprite does. Sprite, I noticed Sprite feels like if you took 7-Up, took a little bit of the lime out, and then like added a little bit more sugar, because Sprite tastes a little bit sweeter.
Yeah. I do think it's also Sprite's a lot closer to water, I think, in the sense of like it's more refreshing. Like that's the big thing they have, you know. Oh, it's refreshing, you know.
Yeah, they used to have the lime on the front, which they do still, but they didn't like they don't like lean into that as much.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's more of like you drink it and you're like, this is like water, but like I guess their enhanced version of it, which by the way, water is a really underrated drink, dude. If I was dying of thirst, the only thing I'd want to drink is water. And I know that's like, well, duh, but I mean, I like Gatorade does not quench my thirst. It says quench thirster. It makes me want to drink more.
I don't know. There's been periods in my life where I've really loved it, and then there's periods of my life where I'm just like if I'm not gonna drink something that tastes good, why wouldn't I just drink water? Like if I just like because the thing is that I drink soda because it tastes so good, and then I drink water when I'm really like thirsty.
Yeah.
And then whereas Gatorade and Powerade and a lot of those like athletic drinks, especially like Gatorade Zero, it's kind of like it's just in between. It's like I'd rather just either drink water or if I'm at like a bar, I'd have like a nice tasty drink or something like that.
A nice tasty drink. Yeah, dude. Actually, the only drink I've ever I've ever like found that quenched my thirst like water was vitamin water. That's the only one.
Vitamin water is pretty good, yeah.
Dude, do you remember
but it has to come from the tap. The blackberry acai pomegranate one, the reddish maroon one.
Remember? Yeah.
I've had that in the bottle. There's a note. It doesn't taste nearly as good as when it's like freshly mixed.
I agree with you, but I still like the taste of it in the bottle. But I do think from the tap, dude, from that specific tap too. But I was gonna say for the viewers who don't know, Ethan was grilling me, dude, on drinking vitamin water at this gas station. We were in Virginia.
I thought it was such a like dumb choice when you have so many other like good drinks in front of you.
Yeah.
It's like getting water, you know what I mean?
He was grilling me. He was like, dude, why are you even, dude, come on. You're like, you know, I was like, dude, you got to try it. And then he tried it, and I'm not even joking. For the rest of the trip, he proceeded to drink vitamin water. He would stay at the tap, and he would chug one cup, and then he would fill it up, and then he'd go up to the counter and only pay for one because he liked it so much.
We would be like at the restaurant, at a different restaurant, and I'd be like, hey, after this, do you want to go to the 7-Eleven, like get some vitamin water? Like it was like we were like talking about it like while it wasn't even there.
You were literally, we literally go to that gas station, which by the way was kind of more of a hangout spot, really. You know what I mean?
It's weird. It was in Stewart's Draft, Virginia, where my parents lived for like 1 year, and they had a 7-Eleven that was maybe 800 feet away from a real gas station, but the 7-Eleven didn't have a gas. It didn't have any pumps. It was just the convenience store portion. But and it was only like 3 blocks away from my parents' house at the time. So when I'd go and visit them, I'd just walk down there, just get some.
Maybe even like a block. It wasn't. I don't think it was 3.
Well,
it was
I'm
close.
talking like the amount of like cross streets you have to cross. I think it was 3.
I guess you might be right about that. But I just mean in distance, there's probably more. I mean, it wasn't even like a mile to walk there.
Like a third of a mile probably.
Yeah, but we'd hang out there though, and it was funny though because other people would hang out there too, but there were significantly different kinds of people. You know what I mean? Do you remember that one mom who's like rocking her baby while she's like playing the slots at the freaking 7-Eleven? She's playing the slots at like 2 a.m. at the 7-Eleven. And
it's weird because you usually only see that in Nevada. Not a lot of states let you have like gambling equipment outside of a casino. Like Kansas has way more restrictions on it than Virginia does. Like Kansas, it has to be on water or on an Indian reservation. That's why they have the little thing. It's technically on water. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen things like that in gas stations before. Like I remember when I was in Oklahoma, I've seen them, and I've seen them in other places. I think
there might be different regulations for a slot machine than for like a roulette table or something.
Full on casino. Yeah. Well, that's what I was about to say. I bet how they get away with it is that it's kind of like a video game, right? Except you can earn some money. You know what I mean? It's like those video games where you can get like an iPhone if you can put it in, if you can stack all the blocks, you know?
Yeah. Win another carton of cigarettes.
Which by the way, those things freaking suck. I've seen one person my whole life when I was by them get like not an iPhone, but like get something from that machine, win anything.
Well, I used to be really into the claws when I was a kid, but then there were some of them, because they have to be subtle about it. But there are some of them where the thing will literally go,
yeah,
while you're holding it without you doing it, and it's on like a timer, and the certain number of ones that do it, it'll do it like 9 out of 10 times. And so when I was a kid, sometimes it's not very obvious. Sometimes it just goes. Ooh.
Or when it picks it up, it kind of like slides out. Which, by the way, how could that baby claw pick up something that's like, you know, like a whole iPhone? Like, how does anybody even get that? I mean, like, they're like, it's possible. Like, it can.
Well, I always did it with stuffed animals. Stuffed animals was always my thing. Even though I didn't really care about the stuffed animal, it was always about the joy about winning the stuffed animal.
Hold up. I've won the claw. I'm not talking about the claw. I'm talking about that one where, like, they have, like, significantly higher.
Yeah.
The significantly higher prizes. Not because, dude, I've won a couple stuffed animals.
Yeah,
by the way,
stuffed animals, because then your loss is not. Because if someone wins a stuffed animal, they're not. I mean, that stuffed animal is worth like $5. You know what I mean?
Maybe
like,
if that, dude. It's probably $1.
And then people, the idea is you spend like $10 in quarters trying to get that $5.
I will tell you though, dude. There's few feelings on this earth as good as winning the claw. Like, there are really few feelings, dude.
That is so good. I remember distinctly. I really do. Wait, hold on. I had to do it.
Why do you say distinctly? You said distinctly as in like to reassure me. You're like, I distinctly. I
do remember the first time I ever got my first paycheck and my first job. I was working at Wendy's, and I drove to the Great Mall, and they had one of those giant claw machines. You know the claw machines where it's like 10 feet by 10 feet?
Yeah.
And it has like big stuffed animals. I got $80 in singles, and it was like $1 to play. And I got like 2 big stuffed animals, and I just sat there and I just like blew all $80 on that thing. And it was fun to do, and like I loved it. Like I didn't care that I was like losing the money.
Yeah, did you take $80 to get both? Like what? Like last play you got it, or you just kept playing after you got? You want to see how many?
I played through the.
Yeah.
I was like, by the end of the 80, how many could I get? And I got 2. I got 2 big ones.
Dude, we should do that for like a podcast video, dude. We should take $100, and we should go to the claw machine and see how many we can win.
Oh, dude, that would be fun. We could like shoot independently. Yeah.
Dude, we could do like at a quarter one though, so that would be 400 plays.
Oh, a quarter one would be nicer. Yeah, that would be nicer, dude. To be honest, I might just leave some of the ones I don't want like in the little trapdoor thing, so that way next kid there could get them.
Or just pass them off. You'd be like, all right, guys, who wants one? You know, you could have like a line behind you. All right, you just throw it behind you, like what do they do at weddings? They throw something. What is it? I forget.
Like a bouquet toss.
Yeah, dude, a bouquet. Dude,
or like a garter toss.
Have you ever been in that before? By the way, when I was younger, they used to put me in that, like with all the women, and I would always look around. And I'm like, something's wrong here, right? Like I'm the only male here. Is this, you know what I mean? And then one of your cousins would walk over and be like, dude, what are you doing over there? You're not supposed to be over there. And you're like, somebody put me over here. I don't.
Like it's the funniest thing ever for all the adults, but then. It's like the whole thing. It's like I hate it when people do that. Like they love jokingly embarrassing kids. It's like it gets just too much. Like Kaylee, my wife, she was telling me that she had a crush when she was like young, like when she was like junior high, and she told her parents about it, and her parents ridiculed her to the point where she just never told them about anything ever again in terms of like crushes or boys or anything, because it was just like they're like, oh, are you gonna go to school to like see Jeremy or whatever? And it was like for like a year that was like a thing, and I'm like, that's like the worst thing ever. Like can we just have a conversation? Like can we just like, you know
how like I think people do that though to like, I don't know, they do it. It's the same way I was telling someone, like, when they come, you know, when older people, I should just say people in general, they go, oh man, when I saw you, you were like this tall, you know, and they always like say how tall you were. They do it because they have nothing else. They have no other way to relate to you. So you tell your parents who your crush is.
That's a little bit more understandable, because that's not like, I'm going to just like, I'm trying to belittle you. Like, you know what I mean? That's what it feels like. Like, you're a little kid, I'm way up here. Like, that's how it feels.
No, it definitely does. I feel like people don't even realize that though. They just think it's like a funny, like they got teased, you know what I mean? Like a little bit when they were a kid and they probably thought it was like, I think people forget that feeling. They thought it was probably funny a little bit, you know what I mean, when they're older. I think people forget what it feels like to get teased though, because it sucks.
They even have that a little bit in The Graduate. Remember when Dustin Hoffman in the beginning party of The Graduate, he like just graduated college. He's like 20 years old, and they're like, "Oh, are you going out in town to visit all the teeny boppers and take them for a ride in your car?" And he's like, not really, I guess." Like he's kind of just trying to be dismissive because like what else can you say? And like at what point are you just a grown adult? Like can we just have a conversation about things? Like Jesus, like I don't blame him for not wanting to be there. You know? Like
I think it's funny though too, because like when I was put with all those women, you know, I remember thinking like, what if I go way harder than everybody else? Like all these women aren't children, right? Like they're not like kids. Like
if I'm like pushing people,
if I punch someone, if I block someone, I mean, what are they gonna say? Hey, well, you know better not to punch. I mean, yeah, I probably know better not to punch somebody, but like, you know, I'm trying to win, right? Like, oh, look, mom, I'm a winner, right? Like that's it. You know what I mean? That's all it comes down to, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, there was a time period in my life where like if I had broken my leg playing a sport, I would continue playing. Like there wouldn't even be a question.
Come on, dude, though. You've never broken your leg. So you don't know that.
I mean, I've hurt myself though, but no, I never said I broke my leg. I'm saying, but I was that like serious about it. And you're like, dude, it's a pickup basketball game. But I'm saying like, dude, it would get to the point where like I would come home every day from playing basketball with my friends and I'd have like bloody knees all the time. And I always, and you know, of course, like, you know, there's like an easy joke where like, oh, were you on your knees all day? You know, they're like, you know, and it's more of just like you get in that headspace where you're just like so obsessive about one thing, you know. When I was a kid, for whatever reason, with sports, I was just like, I'm going to do what I have to win. I'm not going to.
Dude, that's kind of how it was for me in basketball, especially because I sucked at basketball. And so it was either stand around, kind of block, and never touch the ball because no one's ever going to pass to you, or just fight everyone. Like, fight everybody on the court, throw elbows, like, literally, like, two-handed push to someone's shot. I've done that, like, several times during a game where I will mug you to get this ball and just, like, not even try to, like, aim for the basket, just grab the ball from you and just yank it and then be like, all right, like, try to grab the ball again, see what happens. Like, that's, like, that was, like, my attitude towards basketball when I was young. I was like, either I'm gonna, like, put hands on people or I'm not gonna have fun. Like,
dude, do you remember the Ultimate Team, dude? The freaking, I mean, dude, that was, you're doing more, like, you did the most athletic things I think I've ever seen you do in your whole life. And that one, like, blip of time.
Yeah, ever,
one team.
Before or since, for sure.
Dude, they were like, dude, it's like everybody turned into Michael Jordan. Like, on one team, we're like LeBron James. Like, you know, we're just a bunch of Tom Brady's in a group. It was crazy, dude.
Yeah, because I played intramural ultimate frisbee when I was in college for 1 year. And I wasn't nearly as good, but I remember having a feeling like if I wanted to like switch it on, I could. Like, you know what I mean? Like I had that feeling like if I wanted to just make this not fun for anyone, you know what I mean? Like I had that feeling like okay, like because I was still trying to make friends, I was still trying to like be friendly to everybody, but there was a part of me that was just like, man, if I wanted to just check that dude right now or just like hit that dude in the face with the frisbee, I could totally just like I had that feeling like I totally could. I stopped playing after like 3 or 4 games. So I'm like, I just
That's
can't
funny, dude.
Because it was too, you know, those matches that are like overly friendly, like everyone's like so friendly, and it's like I can't. You don't want to be the one guy to like
go too hard. Yeah,
you know what
dude,
I mean?
I remember when even now, like people all the time, they'll like whenever I play sports, they'll always be like, they'll throw me like, say I'm playing football with my brothers, right? And they'll throw me like dude, well, I was playing on concrete, and they'll throw me a ball that's like a little high, and I'll like dive for it on the concrete, and they're like, oh, man, okay, you know? And I'm like, dude, like next play, like that's just how I've always thought of it, you know? Like it's not about right now, right? Like next, like I'm trying to win the game. Like, look, dude, you can worry about whatever injuries you have after the game. You know what I mean? I mean, by the way, I've actually broken my finger twice playing 2 different playing football, and both times I didn't know it was broken. I kept playing. So
that is also a hard thing to tell. That's a hard.
Yeah.
That's hard
well, one of them, my finger. I guess I kind of knew. I mean, I kind of knew. One of them, my finger was literally bent. Like I couldn't bend it. It was like this. It was stuck in that position. I mean, that one I kind of knew more of, but the pinky I didn't know at all. And then I literally for 3 weeks I just didn't even know about it. And then my mom took me to the doctor because it was developing this giant bump. Like my pinky had this like little hump on it. And,
oh dang.
And they're like, yeah, it's broken. pretty clearly broken. But I think it's funny that both times I've broken my fingers has been catching a football, which I think is a sign. I was never supposed to play football, probably.
Well, it's pretty common to break fingers, but one real thing, real quick about Ultimate is that whenever I played Ultimate when I was in the service, I was like the best guy there. That time, I really did go hard.
Yeah.
I was pretty good, but
well, that's what I'm saying too. Well, I think also your team around you, like I remember the Ultimate team, dude. We pushed each other, right? Like, dude, we were all of us at that moment. We're all like shining stars at the exact same time. Do you know what I mean? Like we all just hit our peak. You know what I mean? For that game, all at the exact same time. Like,
yeah, it was kind of funny because my story of playing when I was in the Marine Corps is I was the unathletic guy, and so I was on. They had like two captains. They were picking teams, and there was one team that was like clearly worse than the other team, and they were kind of like, "All right, we're just here to like fill time." And the other team's like, "How can we win by like 100 or 200?" Like, you know what I mean? They're like, the other team is like, "How much can we win by?" And then me like slapping, like literally diving and like slapping down frisbees on defense, and like get it like. I got enough motivation from the team to where we could we didn't win, but we got it to where like we were within 1 point of winning to like a bunch of people that were like way more athletic than we were, and it was so much fun.
I think the thing about frisbee too, though, is that so much of it is throwing the frisbee. Like you're actually really good at throwing a frisbee, right? Whereas I'm not as strong at that. But you know what I mean? And so like that obviously hurts when you play frisbee, right? Like if you can't. Like some people, dude, are dead on with the frisbee. I mean, I've seen people throw shots where I'm like, I could spend 20 years learning how to throw a frisbee properly, and I still wouldn't be able to hit that shot. You know what I mean? Because it's crazy. Some of the accuracy people show.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good at throwing the frisbee. I'm also really good. One thing that I love doing is I love being defense because then I kind of do it like Deion Sanders did when he was like a cornerback, where you like step back from the guy that you're defending and wait for them and like kind of goad them into throwing to that guy, and then like as it's in the air, you kind of can like get in front of it. You know what I mean?
Dude, Deion would play like 10 feet off though. I mean, Deion was absurd. I mean, I've never seen I've never seen anybody play like him. He'd be like, throw it. It would look like he was just standing around. Like if I didn't know any better.
And for those of you who are listening, yes, I did compare myself to Deion, and I am the Deion Sanders of Ultimate Frisbee.
No, I mean, the one thing too though is that like if somebody's willing to try hard and like dive for, I think you see the attitude change around a team when someone dives for anything. You know what I mean? Like making a dive and actually successfully like succeeding, it's pretty boss, right? Like it's pretty. I don't know. You get up and you're like, yeah, like I'm good. Like like you kind of shake it off. You're like, it's a boss move. You know what I mean? It's definitely one of those like, all right, this is for real now. Like we're actually playing a game. You know what I mean? This isn't just how much can we win by. This is an intense. You know what I mean?
I remember feeling that way when I was in handball. I didn't realize I was being bullied at the time, but it was like I thought like, oh man, I'm diving for it last second to like keep it from hitting the mat. When I realized they're just aiming for me the entire time. Like they're not aiming for the mat. They're aiming for me. Like, you know, like like when I dive, like they're aiming for where it's gonna hit me. Like, you know what I mean? And I didn't realize that until like one time I didn't dive, and then they just hit me right in the face. I was just standing there, and just went right, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess that's just what they're doing. I guess they're just hitting me.
You play handball.
I played handball like in high school. Remember we had a handball that was like one of the sections. That it wasn't well, that was when we were in freshman year. I think what I'm talking about, I think that took place like sophomore or junior year. I did PE all 4 years, I think, except for my senior year. So.
Dude, I remember I was on a volleyball team sophomore year because that's the only time I took PE outside of freshman year. Okay. But now that I didn't like PE, I just think like the group that always takes PE all 4 years is always like I don't know. It's
not a fun group of
people. It's just a group, it's that already have a clique. Like they all signed up at the same time.
I didn't like it because I liked it because it was fun and it was an easy A. But by the time I finished my junior year of like being around guys that were just not fun, like people like to play with, like Kenny V was not a fun dude to play like some of those games with. You know what I mean? Like, and so like by the time my senior year rolled around, I just decided to take a break from it. I was like, what am I doing?
Dude, I remember though I was on this team of like we were playing volleyball and it was like this group of seniors and they're all like, there are two volleyball players on the team in the PE for the volleyball section of PE, and on my team. And then there's one basketball player, and there's one of like the basketball player's best friends, and then there was me. And I remember on that team, they barely knew me, but I remember on that team, like you could just tell your position on a team really quickly. So like I was delegated to the person, I forget what they call that person in volleyball, who hits the ball first though. Basically they setter? Not the setter, because the setter is the second one, and then it goes spike. Usually it's setter, then spiker, right? And then who's the first one? It's the person who like dives and stuff for the ball. Like, you know what I mean?
That's the person that's in like the back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, they call it the libero is usually like they're the person with a different jersey, right? They basically dig for the ball. Like they do like crazy, you know, and they'll like, you know. But anyways, I remember I would always do that, and it was so funny how like, because they had one person on their team who was willing to do that, our team just ran like a smooth oil machine. You know what I mean? And because one of them was like would set up, and then this dude who was like I think the tallest guy in our grade was like 6'4", and our school was like 6'4", 6'5". Dude, he'd come up and he'd just spike it right on people. It was so funny to watch people react to getting spiked on. Like,
are you talking about I think Tony Omazic had to be the tallest one.
No, he was 6'3". He was in our grade. No, this guy was older than us. He was a senior when we were sophomores.
Oh, okay.
He played football. He played tight end. But anyways, he was like right around Randall's height. I can't think of his name though.
Oh, dang.
But anyways, might have been taller than Randall. But anyways, dude, he would spike on people, and you could see how when it first started, people would go up, right, and they like try to block it, and then you could see how like as the game progressed, people would just be like they'd start ducking, you know, like
they know that there's no chance of them.
They'd jump up and they'd pretend, you know, so like because obviously the PE teacher might be like, come on, you know, make a play at the ball, but they always be like, it was
I feel like in professional and in college volleyball that like girls and women play, like I feel like there would just be tons of chicks just getting slapped in the face, like on like the net. I feel like there would just be tons of like just slapping each other right at the net, because like the person who's blocking has to literally like slap the ball back as you're hitting it. You know what I mean?
Most people when they block, they just put their hands up. Do you get what I'm saying? They usually create a wall.
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like it would be better to slap it back though. You know, before they even have a chance to hit it.
I don't know. I think years and years of volleyball training they probably know best.
Well, wait, that might be against the rules though. Are you allowed to reach on the other side? You might not be.
No, you can't reach on the other side. But what I'm saying is even if you slapped it like that, I'm saying you have to be pinpoint accurate. When you hold up your hands like this, it could hit your face, and you could still get it over on the other side. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you could just take a shot to the face, and you still get the point. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot better like that, I think, because you have a lot wider surface area. Do you know what I'm saying? To where like you don't have to have like a pinpoint accurate shot, and especially at a high level volleyball, dude, those women can freaking hit the ball. I mean, I've seen women straight up, like I've seen women get harmed when they got hit in the face with one of those. You know,
the college girls are always tall too. They're always like near 6.
Volleyball, volleyball has to be also. By the way, volleyball has to be one of the whenever I hear like a woman plays like a girl plays volleyball, I always think like, wow, they must be like. That's one of those sports where I always think like that's actually like a decently difficult sport. Some sports I always think like, yeah, but that's like, I don't know, it's not that hard. You know what I mean? Not in a mean way. I just mean like swimming, you just swim. Or track and field. Like I'm not really, I mean, it's cool, but like it's never really like all that impressive to me because I'm just like, you run really fast or you run for long periods of time. Like
Big J Ogerson did a thing like that where he kept trying to explain that synchronized swimming is not a sport. He kept trying to say that. And then he did a video. He shot a video. He's like a fat dude. He's like 280. Yeah. He's not in shape at all. And him and his friends tried to prove that they could do the exact same routine that the Olympic gold medalist like synchronized swimming team did. Like do the exact same routine, the exact same way, in the exact same amount of time, and they did it. They literally did it like first day. And so it's kind of like, I don't know, like some of those sports are kind of like, is this a sport or does this belong in like more of like a Dancing with the Stars category? Like, you know what I mean?
I do want to say, just because you can do it doesn't mean that like takes away from the sport. I think more so to me, what'd you say?
Come on, dude. Like if you're telling me if you could just jump in the pool and do Michael Phelps' time, you don't think that would take away a little bit from his accomplishment?
No. What I'm saying is it takes away from the difficulty of the sport. What I'm saying, it doesn't take away from it being a sport. Do you know what I'm saying? Like just because you can go make a movie doesn't make it not a movie. That's not a movie. I can go do it.
I get you, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying like some things are more like artistic instead of competitive.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel about figure skating. Like as long like because no one falls at that level. Like almost no one falls. So it's like let's say there's like 6 different teams, like of pairs, right? Doing figure skating, and like let's say 6 of them, none of them fall. They all do their routine. They all do their little flips and their little tricks and their dancing and their gliding on the ice, and then it's over. And it's kind of like, I don't know, like doesn't that feel like you're kind of like no one considers dancing a sport? You're kind of just dancing on the ice. You know what I mean?
No, you are. I see.
That's what I'm saying.
They had it. They elevated dancing to sport, though. I wouldn't be like against it. I think really how
that does take a lot of stamina.
Yeah. How I feel about it is more so like it just doesn't impress me as much, right? Actually, ice skating does impress me because I can't ice skate at all. I can hardly ice skate. But
it does take coordination to do that. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, but like if it's not like a definitive, I don't like sports where it's not a definitive number. Like, you know what I mean? Like in football, it's like, did you cross the line or did you not? Did you catch it or did you not catch it? Whereas like in figure skating or in like a lot of those like gymnastics ones or with the ribbon, it's kind of just like, well, I'll give her a 6. And it's like, why? You know what I mean? And it's like,
also, you do have to know that, like, maybe what you don't know about the sports, they actually have the routine set up. So what they do is they actually already know the routine. So what I'm saying is they have a routine, right? And there's a maximum of points they can get for this routine. And so then the number of points they get is based off their execution of that routine, like how closely they actually are able to achieve what they said they would.
I mean, I get that, but it's just like, I don't know. It's a lot more, what I'm saying is that it's a lot more subjective. It's not like as objective as like a basketball going into a hoop.
Okay. That's true. No, but it is slightly, though, because like, let me give you an example. It is slightly more objective than you think. Because, I mean, I totally get what you're saying.
That might be true.
The 6. But I'm saying, though, like, basically they'll say, hey, look, I'm going to do a quadruple front flip on the ice. Okay, and they'll say, okay, look, you only did a triple, so we're going to give you 7 points instead of 10. Because you didn't do what you say you were going to do. You get what I'm saying?
I get that, but it's not as, like...
No, it's not as objective.
It's not nearly as objective. Sometimes it's just, sometimes, dude, they look identical. Like, 2 different routines will look identical and they'll get completely different scores. And sometimes like someone will do a jump and they'll land and they'll look just like the other 27 people that jumped, and you're like, they got a 9 but this person got a 7, and you're like, all right, what are we even doing here? And you're kind of like, what are we doing? It feels like a fake.
I don't think it's funny because I don't think it's quite as crazy as that. I do think it is difficult to know, though, like if you don't follow it. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, whenever you watch, like, Olympics, I've seen women do amazing things and they'll get bad scores. And I'm like, just because they stumbled a little. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, that was pretty incredible, you know? I think it's more so, sometimes it upsets me because somebody will do something amazing, but they'll take away from it because they didn't get, like, a good score. You know, like, Michael Phelps isn't getting a score. He's just winning. You know what I mean? And
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like the scores sports as much. Yeah. Like, you know, like, can you just, like, the origins of sport in general, of competitive sport, is who can run this distance fastest, who can throw this thing the farthest, who can swim this distance the fastest, who can pin the other person down in wrestling the quickest. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's very definitive. It's very like strength, speed, agility. Like, you know, it's all like people call wrestling the original sport, like one of the oldest sports ever, if you think about it.
Cool. I think it's funny, though, because I still cannot believe gun shooting, like shooting a gun at a target. It's more objective. I just don't know if I call that a sport. Like, you don't. It's kind of like how somebody talked about bowling. Like, bowling's a sport, but like barely. That's how I feel about shooting a gun. Like, it's a sport, but like barely.
There is a fine line between a sport and a game, right? Like, people don't consider parlor games like darts. Do people consider darts a sport? Because people don't, but that takes a lot of skill.
I think
that's aiming. It's an aiming thing. Same with archery.
Yeah, I think darts is a sport. Because I want to say, to me, a sport.
And by the way, people that play pool have an incredible disrespect for people that play bowling. Because, like, Joe Rogan even talks about that. He's a big pool player, and he's like, bowling is like pool if you stop playing after you break. It's literally, you stop playing after you, like, all right, next game. And like that's how he says it. Like that's like his respect for it. And so, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of weird. Like, there is a fine line between a game. Like, everyone knows Monopoly is a game, right? Monopoly, we can definitively say, is a game.
Yeah.
Right? But then, like, I don't know. There's somewhere in between Monopoly and bowling, it becomes a sport. That's what I'm saying. Somewhere, like, you know, there's a lot of things in between that. Like bocce ball.
Yeah. The reason why it is a sport, right, in my opinion, is because there is a definitive, like, objective, right? It's kind of like what you're saying, where, like, there is some sort of objectivity to it, right? Like, it's not just all subjective. That's why, like, whenever you play Monopoly, I know you're playing with a bunch of players, but it's not like You know, it's weird.
You get a certain card. You know.
Yeah. Would you call chess though a sport, or I mean that's
some people call that's the craziest thing. Because some people call chess a sport.
Chess is the one that like that's where like you fall. I don't know. That's the one that I would really have trouble like saying is that a sport?
There's tournaments and there's like all kinds of stuff that go into chess.
Yeah, that's the one. I think it's right around there. Right around there. It's between Monopoly and bowling. There's chess. Chess is somewhere in there.
But in that in between is chess, bocce ball, pool. Like, because some people don't even consider pool a sport.
I think if you have a league, I would say
some people consider it a game.
Okay, I think if you have a board that you play on, I don't think it's a sport. I think that's a rule. I think if there's
then chess wouldn't be a sport then.
Yeah, I think if there's no physical at all, there's no physical skill that is required of it.
Yeah, you're right. There's no like, you're not out of breath. You're not like doing a physical activity.
And all the sports.
Burning calories.
Yeah, bowling, pool, darts, archery, shooting a gun. All those are just precision sports. Can you take this object that we have? You know, if it's a bullet, if it's a cue stick, if it's a bowling ball.
You're aiming,
yeah, it's just aiming, right? It's a precision sport. So I mean, I think those are all
a good one too, because you're not really burning calories doing that as much, you know. I mean,
yeah, chess is not a sport, right? Because, and I like chess, but chess can't be a sport. Like that's just a fact, because there's no physical exertion whatsoever. I can't think of a single sport that requires nothing to be physically.
Yeah, well, so then you wouldn't consider aiming.
No, I would. I'm saying no, I would because I do think I'm saying you can mess it up, right? Like I'm saying it's physically you have to align your whole body.
There's a physical discipline to how to do it.
Yeah. Whereas chess, you just have to have strategy. You don't need, you could be Stephen Hawking, no offense, right? Obviously. But like you could be Stephen Hawking and be the best chess player in the world. Like there's no physical, but he couldn't be a great bowler, right?
For some reason I keep thinking of do you remember do you ever watch like crazy like compilations where there's this one compilation where there's this video of this guy doing a hunting competition. There's a hunting competition. It's like who can kill this thing quickest. And there's a dude who like as he was hunting, a quail flew by and he grabbed the quail. He like had it in his hand while it was still alive. Can you believe that? Like,
he should have grabbed it and then gone like ESPN. It's better. You know, like you know what I mean? Like
get the head off of it or something.
Found a camera as fast as he could and be like, you know, and then he should have said some slogan, brought to you by Gap, you know?
Brought to you by Disney.
Yeah. Axe body spray. You want your man to smell like a man? Like, you know, like.
Yeah. Dr. Pepper 10.
Yeah, just say it. But, no, that's crazy. I was just about to say, dude, actually, the one that I just thought of a sport, actually, because you told me that and then I thought it was funny. That I was like, man, that's the one that's actually the hardest, I think, to define. God, I just thought of it too. It was a really good one too.
So like a lot of those parlor games, like bocce ball, like shuffleboard, like you know what I mean, like cornhole. Some people consider cornhole a sport.
Yeah, those are all sports. Dude, I was watching this one sport where they play with like it's like a ball in the middle, or there's like a thing in the middle. And you have to bounce the ball off of it. Dude, I was watching it like it was like a pro league. It was like a pro league. No, dude, there was one where I was like, this is the sport that like. That does exist. That I don't know if you could say it's
curling.
No, curling. I know all these sports are all the same, right? Like I said, they're all. This one was like very unique. I can't remember what it was though. But anyways,
luge is another one. Luge is pretty much sledding.
Think about racing. Racing's a sport.
Yeah, well, that actually does take a lot of physical.
Oh, dude. Poker. What about poker? Poker wasn't it, by the way. But what about poker? Poker's a good one. They have leagues.
And dude, there's like a World Series of poker.
Yeah, I do think poker definitely is in the chess category, though. Like, I'm sorry, but like,
you're putting cards on a table.
I just don't. Yeah, it's too much strategy for you to be like, oh yeah, like I'm the world's greatest athlete. Like, you know, you're not.
Yeah, no one considers. That's another good thing. If someone is a champion of that game / sport, if they consider themselves an athlete, then I would consider it a sport. But if they're not an athlete, then I would not consider them. I think the grandmaster of chess would not consider himself an athlete. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think I would consider it a sport.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I don't think I could either. I think when you think about it too, though, like those, like you just said, those people don't even talk like they're athletes. You know what I mean? I think even like a bowling player, right? He's going to be like, all right, well, probably shouldn't eat a whole, Papa John's pizza today. I should probably, be on my A game. I got to go bowl. Even
though it is the most popular sport to eat while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like hands down the most popular eating sport. I mean, either that or pool. Actually, even pool, yeah, people probably wouldn't consider themselves athletes because like Minnesota Fats is like the best pool player in the Hustler. You know what I mean? And he's a fat guy with a 3-piece suit on.
I do
You know
think
what I mean?
I do think that they would. Maybe they don't say, "Hey, I'm an athlete" in the same way, but I do think that they do think of themselves as some sort of athlete, though. You know, like you wouldn't be like, "Oh, I can just teach anybody to do it." I'm saying whether or not we like it or not, you can take a person. You could take you right now, a chess master could, a grandmaster, and he could teach you how to play chess, and you may not be as good as him, but you would be, I mean, right up there. Whereas like with bowling, if your hands are all shaky, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be good at bowling. Like you know what I mean? If you don't have that precision.
Well, and another thing that is actually destroying the sport, a lot of people are talking about it, is it's becoming with the way that they're making bowling balls now, they're making them out of like
Right.
they're making them out of more sophisticated materials. So like before bowling balls used to be made of rubber. It was way harder to get a 300. It was like you might get one 300 in your lifetime type of thing.
Wow.
Whereas like, and they would put your name, they would engrave your name like at the bowling alley. It would be like a big thing if you got a 300.
Yeah.
But it's so much more common. Like I bet if I bowled for a year straight, I bet I could get a 300. Like you know what I mean? Like like 300s are like way more common even in the last 20 years than they have been in the last 100.
Dude, the way you just said that though, there's a reason for that, but another reason I want to point out in a second. But I want to say the way you said it though, there's a big issue within the bowling community that a lot of people have been debating. You said it like this is like CNN, like breaking news, you know?
Well, I mean, the thing is that if it becomes incredibly easy to get the highest, most perfect score in a game, like if it becomes more and more increasingly easy to do that, then like, you know what I mean? Like the difference between it's going to be harder and harder to determine who's better, who's the best. You'd have to like play like 10 games. You know what I mean?
That's what it comes down to. I mean, it's the same way with every sport, though. And that's what I've got to bring up. A lot of that also probably has to do with the fact that we have analytics like out the wazoo about things. Like, I mean, football, people are playing football at a higher level than they've ever played it at, but that doesn't mean that it's become easier or people become more athletic. It's that we know what actually works now. We have a lot better idea because we've had 100 years of football. Whereas like when you had it when when you were playing the 60s, you didn't even have film to look back. You know, I mean, you might have some film of some of the football games, but you didn't really have a whole lot. You had people's memories.
And diet, nutrition, strength, conditioning, stuff like that.
It's not even that. Like you asked me one time, are athletes getting better? No, I think we're just getting a lot more efficient. We know what works now because we've had 100 years of testing to see.
I would consider that better then.
Though. Yeah, but what I mean is, are they getting better? I'm saying if you'd put anybody back then, right, like in the when sports first started, like in the 1900s, 1910s, 1920s, and given them what they know now, they'd be just as good. I mean, that's why Babe Ruth is still considered the greatest baseball player of all time, and nobody's even come close. Except maybe Ohtani for the Angels, who is the only pitcher/hitter that is dominating like somebody like Babe Ruth did in his time period.
I think that people are just smaller, though. That's the problem. People were smaller back then. You know, there's a lot.
I think people are smaller. I think it's like I just said. I think it's people like no, because you look at they actually talk.
There's evidence of that though. There was way more people above 6 foot now than there ever has been.
But that's also because we have 8 billion people, though. So I'm saying, like, if you throw out, I mean, what was the world in the 20s? Probably 4 billion. I'm saying, so if you
in 1850 they had 1 billion people in the Earth. In
1850.
Yes. 1850 there's 1 billion people.
I'm saying if you keep on like doubling the population, though, right? Like I'm saying, of course you're gonna have more 6-footers than ever before, right? Like that's now maybe you're saying proportionally it's a little larger, but I think that's
what I'm saying.
But I'm saying that's bound to happen. Like I think later on you're going to see shorter people. Like I think it's gonna like it fluctuates. Like if you look at, it's kind of like when people talk about one of the things that people, and I'm not discounting global warming. I do think global warming is happening, right? Climate change is occurring. But I'm saying one of the things people don't take into account sometimes is that the world does go through periods where it warms up and it cools down at random intervals for different reasons.
Well, there's actually a big debate about that. Like Steve Koonin, he's not a climate change denier. He does believe in climate change, but he believes climate change is a lot more insignificant than people think, because he thinks that like if you take ancient Arctic like ice cores from like thousands of years ago and you can measure them, like, you know what I mean, like deep, there's like the temperature difference is like less than a degree, you know what I mean? So if you look at it over the course of thousands of years, really global warming is a myth if you look at it from that perspective. But if you look at it I'm just going to analyze the last 60 years where it appears to be trending like warmer, you know what I mean? Then you would say, oh my gosh, looking at that statistic, we're all gonna like, you know what I mean? There's gonna be 10 feet of water everywhere, but then it's like, so it's like you have to take into account thousands of years worth of data, and like, you know what I mean? Like, and the fact that like, you know what I mean? If that much ice melted, like literally England wouldn't exist. Like, you know, England would be underwater. You know, so it's like there's like so many things that would implicate that. You know. So,
I mean, I'm not saying again, because I don't want to get too heavy into the global warming thing. I just meant more like I think we have this tendency in life, right, to look at things from a very like short, limited perspective. Like you just said, 60 years, we're like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? I'm saying I think you have to look at the broader scope of things sometimes to like understand the complexity of what they're saying. And I do think, like I said, I do believe in global warming just from like a pure, you know what I mean? Carbon emissions would lead it to be warming, right? I mean, that's just a fact, right? Like we see that with other planets. But
well, how significant it is the debate.
Yeah, that's what I mean though, is that like and I think it's just one of those things where I'm saying like you look at all these things though, I just think naturally when you look at like athletes, right, we're going to get better as we know more information. Whenever you look at presidencies or anything, right, when you look at anything that's like the longer we have, right,
cars.
Cars. If you look at like cars, like you don't think cars in the 1910s could compete with cars now? I mean, it'd be hilarious. I remember going to that.
that would be hilarious. You put like a 1910 Model T next to like a Bugatti Chiron and be like, okay, who's gonna?
Dude, I mean, Diesel could win with that. And Diesel could win with that. You know, it's funny though. I think that it's hilarious to me to think like, Vin Diesel could win. Like in his movies, he does win with like the Model T versus like the Bugatti. Like he's tried that.
I feel like it's cheating to put like nitrous in your car because literally
say that
he just put big nitrous tanks in the back of like a crappy engine and just went. And like,
yeah, let's not even mention that the car is unusable after this. Like it's not like it's okay. Yeah, okay, you beat. Ooh, you know what I mean? Like that's what I would do if I was the guy who lost the race. I'm like, oh man, you beat me. He's like, I guess you have to walk home though. You just have to walk 20 miles home now because you know what I mean? Like because I'm not giving you a ride. Nobody else I know is giving you a ride. Like.
Another thing they also failed to mention is that if you jump from a car going 120 plus miles an hour, your body would like explode on impact. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're pretty, like you'd be in pieces. You know, like. But then he's just like, gotta know, want another race today.
He's just got like a little bit of like a scratch right here, and a little bit of blood on his white tee.
He's got like some like black like soot on his face or something.
He's got a Corona.
Nothing a Corona it won't fix. How much money have they paid him? Oh my gosh, he always drinks Corona with the label out and everything.
Like, dude, he probably doesn't even think about it anymore. It's just how he grabs a Corona. He just grabs it perfectly with the label out every time.
He's got to be getting money.
Pass me a Corona. They throw him a Corona. He grabs with the label out, like right to the camera. Just not even. Oh yeah, I guess I did.
He always has a plastic bag of limes on him, so he can like
just pay somebody to carry limes with him.
Hey, lime boy, bring me my limes.
He's got like the guy. It's called lime. It's a lime sack. He's got like a little lime sack he carries on his belt.
And he's like, "Can you not call me lime boy? I'm 48 years old."
He throws a Corona bottle at his face. Hey, lime boy, you can have a Corona yourself. Oh!
It just shatters on his feet.
Oh, it's in my eyes.
I told you to drink it, and you're gonna drink it in any way. He like makes him like sip from the ground.
Dude, what if glass. Has like a little bed right next to Vin Diesel's. It's like a little dog pad.
A little dog bed.
So they crawl around in a circle and lay on it.
He sleeps in the fetal position.
Good line boy. Like.
Then he like actually fixes cars instead of Vin Diesel, who like just turns 3 wrenches while the camera's looking.
I'm just thinking, what if Line Boy had like a family? Like he gets like only one break where he can be with his family. It's like Christmas. He gets like a Christmas holiday break.
That would be funny.
But so like he walks out the door being like a dog. Like he has to crawl out the door like a dog, and then he can stand up in the doorway. And he's like, all right, here, let me. He like pops his back.
That would be so funny.
Oh man.
Yeah, Vin Diesel's crazy.
Dude, have you seen what's your favorite Vin Diesel movie, by the way? Because I would say mine is the Chronicles of Riddick. The just the whole series. I love that.
I haven't seen a ton of his movies. I haven't seen a ton of his movies outside of the Fast and Furious series. I've seen him in both of the XXX movies he did.
Are those good?
they're just normal action movies. I mean, I'm not gonna say that they're not great, but they're not. I mean, it's a good action movie, but it's not like whoa, it's like amazing.
Do you think Bloodshot was better?
Bloodshot was just incredible in terms of like CGI, technology, animation, like the things they were able to do.
Well, I think also just the action, like that one scene I told you, I love that scene in the tunnel. Do you remember that?
Yeah, so it's like a lot of that. I don't know if that's necessarily him being great in the action movies.
Well, I mean, what I mean is that like it's more so. I guess what I'm getting at is it had really cool action sequences.
It did have good action.
You know, and CGI or not. I guess I was just asking if Triple X had.
So they made one in like 2002, I want to say, and then that was the original one. That one did pretty well, so they made a sequel, but Vin Diesel wasn't in the sequel. It was Ice Cube was in the sequel.
Why was it? That's so weird.
Well, he actually had a history of doing that. He like didn't want to do sequels for a while because he wasn't in the sequel to Fast and Furious either. Too Fast, Too Furious. So you didn't know that?
No, I've only watched them all the way through, like all of them once.
Okay, so yeah, he wasn't in the second one, and then he wasn't in the third one except for like a little cameo right at the end type of thing, like less than 2 minutes, like. Dang. And so he was really only in the first one and then 4 through 9. But, I mean, it's still a lot. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
But like, yeah, he didn't like doing sequels. So whenever his movies would do well, someone else would just do his sequel. Like Ice Cube did his sequel for Triple X, which was all right. And they did that in like 2006. And then like he gets kind of more humble as he gets older. He's like, all right, I just need to make money. I think like he's just like, who cares? I mean, because then he made another one in 2015. He made like a revamped one.
I don't think it's a lack of humility that doesn't allow you to do sequels. I mean, like if somebody asked me to do a sequel on a movie, I don't really like I don't know, like for instance, okay, so Star Wars 1 through 6. If somebody came to me and was like, hey, will you do episode 7? I mean, I'd say no. 1 and 6 is like 1 through 6 is good. Sure, I don't want to. Yeah,
I'm saying for the reasons that I'm not saying it is definitively like anytime you don't do a sequel, it's because you're prideful. I'm saying that I think the reasons why he didn't do it was for prideful, like for ego.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Dude, he's such a unique action figure, by the way. Like, and I mean like action figure in the sense of like, you know, like an action hero. Like he's just such an interesting one in the sense of like, he's so like, it's kind of like you said. He's when we did the action thing, he's got to get out the car. He's got to get out of the car at some point. Like it's interesting because he's an action hero who relies so heavily upon like machines. You know what I mean? To do like even in Triple X, isn't he like driving a car? Like I feel like he
drives a car a lot of the time. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of shootout scenes and stuff. But there's not really any, like, he doesn't do, like, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, he doesn't fight people, really. Like,
that's what I was about to say. I mean, I've seen him do that in, like, again, like in Riddick and stuff. I've seen him do stuff like that. But it's pretty...
He does it a little.
Yeah. He doesn't do it a lot. Like, that's not why he's an action star. He's definitely one of the more, like, even in the Fast movies. I mean, I've seen The Rock and Statham go at each other, you know? Which, by the way, Statham is just so cool. Statham's probably my favorite 2000s action hero. I love Statham.
Yeah, I like Statham. He's had a few kids with the blonde chick from Transformers 3. Remember her?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's his like. So they're not married, but they're like, they have a mortgage together and they have like kids together.
They have a mortgage. Why is it for you? They have a mortgage together.
That's just like she's being taken care of. Like that's like they're planning their lives together, but they're not married.
It's funny that you said that. They have a mortgage together.
Well, it's weird. I don't understand why people do that because like I had a great aunt who had a common law marriage, and they were like common law married for like 40 years, and then he died, and it was like a big thing. And I'm like, my God, like if you're living in the same house, having children, like you know what I mean, like doing all kinds of things with this person, why wouldn't you just get married? Like especially when they were religious too. It was like
that's really odd. Yeah.
I know. I was like, what the heck?
But yeah, that's what I was gonna say though about we're talking about Statham.
Yeah.
Is he gonna be in Fast and Furious 10? Do you know? I
don't know. Is there really still gonna be a Fast and Furious 10?
Yeah, you didn't
know. They should call Fast and Furious 10.
Dude, somebody was like, they've already gone to space.
Well, my thing is that the series has been in steep decline. Episode 8 and on. Episode 8 and episode 9, they've been in pretty bad decline. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the movies have gone down a significant amount. Like, 8, I thought 8, like, oh, they're in a bit of a rut for 8. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
You always think
not.
they're only one movie in. You know what I mean? They're only one movie past Paul Walker's death.
Yeah, so it's like I thought it was it was like I want to say it was like 20% worse than 7. But then 9 didn't even have The Rock, and they didn't explain why. And I don't even think it had Statham either, and it dropped in quality so much. It was almost like cartoonish. It was like 90% worse than like episode 7.
Did you see Hobbs and Shaw? I mean,
Hobbs and Shaw was great. Hobbs and Shaw was great. I loved Hobbs and Shaw.
Did they not explain it, Hobbs and Shaw?
It was kind of just like he's just gonna go off and keep being a detective, keep being a cop, kind of. And it was like there was no definitive reason why he can't just work with the Fast and Furious crew again. Like it was kind of just he's doing his thing.
That's funny, but yeah.
Like, yeah.
Can you think of another action series that's gone on as long? Because we were talking about what? How long has Police Academy gone on for?
Well, Die Hard's gone on a lot.
They only have 5, I think, though.
They had 5 over the course of like 40 years almost. You know.
Yeah, but what I meant is like I guess. Oh no, James Bond. I meant like the number of movies.
Well, I'm trying to think of what movie series had the largest amount of movies, because I don't know if you can consider James Bond one movie series, because like each person that does it, I think, would be a separate series, because the stories don't coincide with each other. You know what I mean? They don't.
Well, they didn't until Daniel Craig came, right? Like they didn't, like none of the stories up until Daniel Craig like never coincided.
What I'm saying is that even Daniel Craig is not like, he's not explaining what happened to all the other James Bonds. You know what I mean? Like he's not.
That'd be kind of
like. Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. I think they should do that at some point. They should like be like, this is what because it is kind of like just remakes, which is okay. I love them. I love them all. Like I don't care. But like I don't know if I consider that like James Bond 1, James Bond 2, James Bond 10, 11, 12. Like it's not like one thing like how Fast and Furious is or how Star Wars is. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
Yeah, I get. But Star Wars 1 through 6 is they're completely different actors, right? Like. Who play?
They are, but there is an effort to conserve the story. Whereas,
that's true.
Whenever they redo like Spider-Man, or whenever they redo like James Bond, it is kind of like we're starting from scratch. Like everything's starting over again.
Yeah, with new actors. Okay, would you consider the MCU? Would you consider that one film series?
That's really tough because they all are a part of the same universe, and they're all like. Interacting with each other at different times, so yeah, that's rough, you know. Because that would be the largest. Actually, I think I have that in my list for like the largest number of movies in a movie series. So I guess so. It's not how I would want. It's not the one that I would want to win. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. That's not the one I want. That's not the one I would want to win either.
Even though I've seen most of them, because like right before Avengers Endgame came out, I wanted to see every single Marvel MCU movie, which up to that point I had seen all of them except for like 4, so I just watched like the 4 that I hadn't seen. And I also didn't see Captain Marvel. I was kind of against Captain Marvel because it's not because of Captain Marvel. I think it's just when she entered into the story was so upsetting to me. Like, all right, so you're telling me there's this superhero that's supposed to be like more OP and more insane than all the other superheroes, and she's gonna come in last second when they really could have used her like 10 movies ago. You know what I mean? Like, and then she's just gonna come out of nowhere, and she's gonna not even really be a big fixture in the Avengers movies later on. And then it's like I didn't really, even though I do like Brie Larson, I didn't really make an effort to watch that one. But that was the only one. And then I haven't seen any of them after. I haven't seen very many of them after the Endgame one. Like I saw Doctor Strange 2, which I liked, and I saw No Way Home, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But I didn't see what's the one with Scarlett Johansson? What's
Black
her character?
Widow.
I didn't see the Black Widow movie. That seemed really lame. She's the most hated superhero out of all the Marvel superheroes. I don't know if you knew that, but
no, I didn't.
Which makes sense because she's just a hot chick who wears latex and that's her superpower. Yeah. So it's like I don't know. There's like a part of it that kind of is like, why does she need to exist? Like I don't know. Like, I like Scarlett Johansson.
At least it's part of the comics. I mean, that's the one thing I do think I would normally agree with you on like some of these things. Like I don't know why Captain Marvel had to come in late. I do think that was kind of odd as well.
Like if she had come in way earlier, then I would have been on board. I think.
Yeah, I do think I do think though, in terms of like them actually though existing, like they are part of the comics, right? It's not. And I don't know though. We give a lot of concessions to like Batman, who literally has no powers. He's just rich. I mean, that's literally his power. If he was poor, he wouldn't be a superhero. Could that be actually really funny? A poor Batman.
Well, they even make what is it? What's his name? Ben Affleck. He even made a joke about that. They're like, "What's your superpower?" He's like, "I'm rich." Remember?
Yeah,
there
I remember that. Yeah.
It was either in Justice League or Batman versus Superman.
I think it was in Batman versus Superman. Yeah, I'm really rich. I mean, that's.
Some people are considering his showing of Batman like the worst ever, which I don't know. I don't think I don't know. I don't think he's the worst.
Dude, Batman has to be the worst.
All right. Well, which Bat nipple are you talking? Are you talking about George Clooney or Val Kilmer?
I think George Clooney. I think George Clooney. I think Val Kilmer at least.
No, Val Kilmer didn't have the bat nipples. It was Robin who had the nipples. Robin had the nipple costume, and then Val Kilmer didn't.
I can't remember if Val Kilmer did or not, but I know George Clooney by far is the one. When I think of Batman,
he's the one that everyone thinks of.
Yeah, he said he played Batman gay. He thought Batman was gay in the movie. Like they never said that to him on set, but that's how
he played Batman gay. That's so funny to just make that decision on your own.
I mean, dude, okay, come on though. Did you see the costume? The costume was definitely like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like I get why he thought he was gay. Like it's not.
I like that in the new Batman, which I thought was amazing, incredible. The Robert Pattinson one.
Oh, dude, I love Pattinson's, yeah.
I loved it. But one thing I liked about it is his suit. They made an effort for it to be like panels, like armored panels. Not to be like an outline of a six-pack, which always was kind of like, okay, like if it's a bulletproof suit, why does it have to be a six-pack? Like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make any sense. Like even like they're trying to make it look like the suit is like painted on and then you have like six-pack underneath, but everyone knows that you don't have a six-pack. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like no one has like that defined muscles where it's like muscle here, like the perfect
six-pack. They don't need that armor to have a six-pack.
Your six-pack would be covered by the armor.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't need six-pack armor.
So that's what I liked about it is they didn't do like the nipples. They didn't do the 1 foot horns coming off of his head. Like they did so many things right with it that I thought was cool.
Well, it's probably the most realistic Batman suit, you know?
People wanted to add realism to it. And that's one thing that Chris Stuckman pointed out is that there's a scene in one of the Michael Keaton Batmans where, he always has eye makeup on for those eye holes. So there's a scene where he like rips.
Yeah, dude, I've seen that.
And then they cut it where now he doesn't have eye makeup, and then he takes the thing off. And so he's like, he kind of likes that they explained, like there's gonna be some times where he has to put eye makeup on, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of.
That is really cool. I was about to say that. I actually know that scene. That's in Batman Returns.
He like rips it like.
It's in it's whenever he's they're going like underground. It's towards the end. But I remember that scene because I remember I do that all the time. I pause it on stuff like that. And I thought it was so funny because you're right, because they had to get they show it and he's like, what are you talking about? Or, you know what I mean? It shows him like going into like for a punch and then it cuts the other guy like punching him or ripping it off, going for that move. And then it cuts back to him and he has no eye makeup on and his thing gets ripped off. And it's so funny to see because especially when you can pause it in the DVD era where like you can pause it and you can just rewind it and be like, that's hilarious.
Well, and it's kind of funny because like one thing that a buddy of mine pointed out is that like Batman couldn't move his head. Like, you know what I mean? He like couldn't.
Like stiff. Yeah.
He was like whenever he's in the car, he's like, he's trying to give him the thumbs up, but he had to like turn his whole body.
I remember, dude, if you wanted to be Batman, just stand to the side.
Yeah. So they did a few things to like make it to where you'd be like, oh my gosh, like that seems like a legitimate. If you were gonna wear like a fighting suit, that would be the suit.
Well, in defense to like Tim Burton's Batman though, I do think he plays it a lot more stylized. Even like the Penguin, like he did try to make the Penguin like he's a deformed person. He's not like an actual penguin, but they do play it up like a little more stylized than a lot of the other Batmans.
I love it. I hate how people trash it as much as it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to be honest, like you can't take a movie out of the time period it was made in. You know what I mean? That's my bit. Me and you talk about that a lot too. Like you can't judge an athlete out of the time that they performed in. Like in the 80s, every movie had a little bit of like 80s cheese on it. I'm sorry. And there's a little bit of cheesiness that kind of came with movies, and that was the style. And you know what I mean? Like, you can't just be like, oh, it sucked because like of this and this and this. It's like, dude, at the time it was like the coolest thing ever. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and I think it's also important to recognize that Tim Burton wasn't going for complete realism, right? Like in those movies, and I mean, when you watch them, you can see that it's kind of similar to like
that wasn't the goal.
Yeah, when we critique like Bat Nipple, like the one thing I do want to say about Bat Nipple, even though I think it's hilarious, is that they obviously meant to put Bat Nipple. Like that wasn't a mistake. It's just funny that they decided. That's what makes it funnier. Is that they looked at the suit and they said, you know what's really missing?
Where are my nipples?
Where are my nipples? Where are the nipples? We need nipples. Can you make them bigger? The nipple size is really too small. I really want to be able to see them in the shots. I want to see the nipples.
Hey, lighting guy, what's your name? Steve? You're fired in 5 minutes if you can't find any nipples.
Where are my nipples? It's funnier to me that like they didn't do anything else more realistic. Like yeah, I guess they got like the rib cage and they got like, but for some reason like was there belly buttons on the 6-pack? If there,
dude, there actually might have been.
There might have been.
Oh my gosh, dude, I want to. We'll have to look that up later.
The bat button. That's what they should call it. The bat button.
Dude, the car in what is it? The car in the Robert Pattinson one was pretty cool. The Batmobile. Dude, and the entrance to it too, like it was like you could see it going in the night.
Yeah.
Dude.
I like also they don't call him Batman. I like how they really did like such a modern take on a superhero movie. Like they never call him.
When does he ever? When do they ever say the words Batman in the movie?
No, they don't. They don't ever call him Batman. They call him Vengeance.
Well, he says, "I am Vengeance," and then some other guy said he was Vengeance.
Yeah, but I don't recall them ever saying Batman ever once. They don't call him Batman. I'm saying I think that like is the case in point is that
I think he still considers himself Batman though.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's not Batman. I'm saying it's cool though because like it's not like I'm Superman like here for the rescue, right? And I'm not saying I don't like that. I'm just saying it's cool to see a really realistic take on a Batman movie, right? Because I'm saying we had gotten such different forms, like the Adam West Batman.
It was weird. Like
whenever pass the octopellant spray or the
shark repellent spray.
The shark repellent spray,
which is the size of a fire extinguisher that you just pulled out of your back pocket.
Could you imagine they have that like on deck? This is a
scenario. It's labeled shark repellent spray.
I'm going to be in this scenario a lot. I would imagine, I would just say, quick, pass the repellent. I just spray whatever I have. I take Febreze and I just spray it on the shark. Like, I would just do whatever I could. Quick, pass me my deodorant. He just rams this deodorant in the shark's nose as many times as he can. What are you going to say, though?
It's like the fakest rubber shark that's ever... It, like, jiggled like it was rubber, too, whenever they hit it. It was so bad.
What are you going to say, though, about something I...
Oh, like... I don't know, like the Robert Pattinson one I really liked. Like one of the things I was gonna say is that whenever he was at the crime scene with the cops and all the cops were wearing the regular clothes and he was wearing his bat costume, it didn't feel like preposterous that he was there, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like it reminds me a little bit of The Last Samurai. So I don't know if you knew this, but like the samurai were like the imperial guards of the Emperor of Japan for like 1,000 years. And so like literally they would have dudes with swords dressed as samurais walking around the emperor. And that was how it was. That wasn't like weird. And so like in the 1800s when they made a switch to like guns and the Japanese army. Sorry, I got Amber Alert, I think. No. All the way up in West Jordan? Okay. They gave me an Amber Alert for someone that's like 2.5 hours away, which is kind of...
Dude, if you see her during the podcast, you gotta call, dude. You gotta immediately end the podcast. I gotta go. I see. Oh God.
No, but one thing I was gonna say is that, like in the movie The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, they showed the samurai coming in to talk with the emperor with their robes and with their weird haircuts and with their swords, and it wasn't weird. It felt like that. Oh, that's just a part of the culture. Whereas, like, I kind of felt that way about Batman. Like that's just part.
How do they explain Tom Cruise being white? Is that ever? They're just like, yep. I think that's so.
Well, have you seen The Last Samurai?
No, I haven't seen The Last Samurai.
No, so it's because he was an American that was sent to Japan to train the Japanese army, and then he got kidnapped by the samurai, and then he like.
I was gonna say, I find it really weird in movies when people will do that. Like they won't explain why someone's like they'll like cast a Russian as a German, and I don't even mean like in like a cancel culture kind of way. I just mean in like this takes me out of the movie. Like I know that's not a German accent. Like that guy's clearly Russian. You know what I mean? Like it's just stupid. I'm like I'm not saying like they look, like, oh, they speak in a German accent. They can do like a voice. I'm saying they don't even like care to do a voice, Um,
The biggest oversight in terms of voices is Jean-Luc Picard being French and just talking in an English accent the
yeah,
entire time.
that's
It's
what
like,
they'll do that.
why not just make him English? Why not just make him like Collinsworth or something like that? You know what I mean? Like,
They do that all the time though, and it's like it's just annoying to me because it's such a like it just takes me out of it, you know. And I'll give Star Trek the benefit of the doubt because it's kind of like we were talking about. It's kind of a silly, you know, like it's not always super accurate scientifically.
you give the guy the most French name ever, and
Yeah.
he's like from France. He like talks about France,
Well,
but he like is English.
did you know? I wonder how they explain that because I was about to say, did you know that England and France, like either somebody from France or somebody from England, founded the other country?
So William the Conqueror founded England. Well, they consider that when it was founded,
Yeah.
and he was a Normand from Normandy, France. But France didn't exist at the time.
Yeah,
Like
but
it was just a wild collection.
that's what I was about to say. I figure I remember reading that and I remember being really shocked because I know that everybody's always like talking about how much they hate each other.
So people, the weird thing about England, because I like English history because I'm English. You know, like my ancestors come from England. But so before William the Conqueror conquered England in the Battle of Hastings in 1066, there was a bunch of different kings that ruled before him, and they're all still related to William the Conqueror. Like those are still his relatives that were conquered. So like they say England was founded 1066 because that's when William the Conqueror conquered England, and that's when the line started from William the Conqueror down. But if you go all the way back to the 800 AD, King Egbert, and for the 200 years before that, 250 years before that, were all kings that all ruled over the land, and were all related to, William the Conqueror. The only difference is that the Anglo-Saxons, that was the Anglo-Saxons that lived there. So like I don't know if you knew this, but around like 150 AD, England was like North America. It was like nothing but dudes in like loincloths and spears, like with paint on their face and stuff. Like it wasn't like there's no civilization there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same with Ireland and like Scotland. And so like the Roman Empire conquered it, and then King Hadrian, who was the ruler of the Roman Empire, built Hadrian's Wall to keep the Scots out, and that wall is what separates England and Scotland to this day.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
And yeah, and because what happened is the Ninth Legion of the Roman Empire. I could talk about history all day, but like they went north to conquer more lands, right? In what is now Scotland, 5,000 people disappeared, never heard from again.
Wow.
Like they went up north into the wilderness, like unexplored wilderness, and they just can you imagine that? 5,000 guys like with spears, like with like greaves, armor, like with like shields, like and there's 5,000. Not one of them came back.
5,000 people like now would be crazy. 5,000 back then would be even crazier.
Because that's such a larger percentage.
Yeah, you'd be like, what happened?
And so that's why the wall was built. It's just kind of like, all right, we're gonna roll over the southern part, England, but the north, we're just gonna keep everyone out. They called them savages, so keep the savages out. And so, like from 150 AD to about 500 AD, the Romans ruled England, and there was like Roman troops there. It was like they were like the overruling nation. And then in 500 AD, around 500 AD, I don't know the exact year, the Roman Empire fell. And so from 500 AD to 800 AD, there's actually not a lot of records of what happened in England. And so they actually believe that so a lot of the myths, like King Arthur and the Round Table, and the Knights of the Round Table, come from that.
Well, I'm sure King Arthur existed. You know, I'm sure that stuff happened. Like
some people don't think he did. Some people think there was a guy named Artorius who lived and was a ruler over the lands there. But the thing is that it wasn't the same way that they had kings later on. Like there was a king that would be a king over like the size of like 1,000 acres, and that would be his kingdom. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
And then like you go over the next hill, and there'd be another kingdom that would rule over that area. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, it didn't get united until King Alfred, who like he pretty much conquered all of the lands and then made it one country. And then yeah,
that's pretty cool. I didn't even know any of that. That's really cool.
And then there's another myth, real quick. There's another legend saying that there will be an Arthur, a King Arthur, that will come to England and rule over England when England needs it the most. That was like one of the legends.
Did it ever happen?
So right before World War II, King Edward, whose name was Arthur, one of his, I don't know if you knew this, but like when you're born into the royal family, you're given like 5 names. Like your name is like George, Alfred, Alvin, like Arthur. Like it's like a bunch of different names.
Yeah.
And then you can choose whichever name you want to rule by. So his name was Arthur, but he chose to rule by Edward, and then he abdicated the throne during World War II, so he could marry a woman that had already been married before. So
wow.
Because they said if you want to marry this woman, you can't because she's already been married. So if you want to marry her, then you have to abdicate the throne. So he abdicated the throne to his little brother, who was King George VI, who ruled during, or King George V or King George VI? I'm pretty sure it's VI.
It's funny to me though that like people keep track of the king still to some extent, only because they have no power, right? Like
the lineage is kind of cool.
Yeah, no, one of my friends, she's from England, or she lived in England when she was a kid. She's from America, but she lived in England when she was a kid. And she, it's like, I think it's really cool because she talks about it sometimes. I think it's really cool. Like it's such a cool, like regal kind of like, old fashioned thing. But I just mean like in terms of like when you're saying, oh, a King Arthur will be there when you guys need it the most. I'm like, yeah, except King Arthur, if he did come, he has no actual political power. Which, by the way, dude,
the idea is that he can like rally the nation together and like, you know what I mean? Like be the poster child and be like the one to like be like, we are one nation. Like, I don't know, like help everyone out. I don't know.
What if one of the kings did run for parliament though? Would that not be sick? Dude, that would actually be interesting.
So they don't have no power. There are like some things like they can like propose bills. I don't know if you knew that.
Okay, but come on, you know what I mean?
They can like make suggestions on like what to do and stuff like that.
Can you imagine though? I bet they get laughed out of there sometimes. Like everybody there got voted in and they just got like born into it. Like, come on, dude. They had like they actually talked about this in this book, The Prince by Machiavelli, very famous book. But he actually talked about it where like he's talking about how like when kings have children and then their children becomes kings, those kings always suck. They're always sucky because they were born into the kingdom, right? They already had king. But when you have to go out there and you have to like earn it by the sword, or you have to earn it by rallying the troops, those kings are always way better, right? And the reason is simply because they had to earn what they got. They didn't, you know what I mean? They earned the kingdom. They weren't just given the keys of the kingdom right away,
Yeah, well, I think it all depends on how you were raised. I think sometimes, like King Richard, who was born, he was born into King Richard I. He was born into like being a king, and he was considered by many people to be like one of the greatest kings who ever lived. He like fought on the front lines during the Crusades to like free Jerusalem, he wanted to like free the Israelites, and like he died like in battle. Like people loved him, and then his little brother King John became king, and he sucked. But
well, what I'm saying though is, I bet if you look at all the kings though, right, like going through the lineage of it, I bet you would say more of them sucked than were good. Right.
For like 90%.
Yeah. And I'm saying that's because like, and at that time when Machiavelli was talking, he probably only had like his current historical context, right, to speak from, with minor history being taken at that time, probably. But I'm just saying, so like, it makes a lot of sense because when you earn something, you're just traditionally like, whenever I make a sandwich, it tastes better to me because it's the way I exactly wanted to make it. Now maybe I don't have the skill to make it the way Gordon Ramsay makes it, right? I'm sure Gordon Ramsay makes a better sandwich than me. But that doesn't actually mean that he makes it the way that I would make it. You know what I mean?
I bet I could make a better burger than Gordon Ramsay could, though. He knows more about food than I do, but I definitely know more about burgers than he does.
I bet here's the thing. I bet the only reason why me and you would make a better burger than anybody who's really talented like that with food is because, again, we know what we like. So, for instance, I might like my burger a little crispier than you would like your burger. Or I might make it a little, I might
make the best burger for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Because we know
we care more about that too. Because like he might make a burger that someone might definitively say this is the best gourmet burger in the world.
Yeah.
Or, like taking all things into consideration. But for me and like what I want, like a juicy, like greasy burger. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. Well, dude, he might put on lettuce and tomato and he might spit it out and be like, this sucks because you hate lettuce and tomato.
I like shredded lettuce, but not just a slice of lettuce. That's insane.
Dude, it is so good, dude. I love lettuce. Lettuce is one of those things you can eat.
You're telling me that shredded lettuce wouldn't be a little bit better texture-wise?
No, okay. Like, here's the thing. Here's how I feel about it. I think shredded lettuce is good. I think regular lettuce is good. I think it just depends on the burger. You know what I'm saying?
Like, it's the same thing. It's just how you cut
it. I think the difference is that, like, how much else is going on the burger. Because if it's shredded, it'll fall off a lot easier. Whereas the lettuce, at least, like, the really nice thing that lettuce does when it's one piece is that it stays on there and it kind of holds in all the other things that might fall off. I mean, you also got to keep in mind, dude, I put on so many things on my burgers. I've had, every time I go somewhere, they're always like, you're putting on all that. They're always shocked. Because I literally say, everything you can put on a burger, put on it. Everything you have back there, I want you to put on it. And they're all
like, I've learned to like more things now on burgers than I used to. Because to me, a cheeseburger, just as it is just so good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so hard to... Well, it's like in Parks and Rec, when they had like a cook-off, which would be better, a turkey burger or like a hamburger. And like, Rob Lowe is like coming up with like the most like amazing recipe he can possibly come up with using like fresh turkey. And like, and then what is like, Ron Swanson is literally just buying frozen beef patties at the supermarket, cooking them till they're done, like not putting anything on it, just a regular beef patty on bread on like a hamburger bun, and he's like, this is gonna win. And then they're like, oh my gosh, and then that one won, the hamburger won instead of the turkey burger, because it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so much better. Like,
well, especially because I think ground beef it just tastes better than ground turkey. You know what I mean? Like or there's a bean burger. Yeah, well, there's certain, I want to say this because I do think there's certain meats that play better towards like that style of stuff. So like, for instance, turkey tastes really good if it's deli sliced. Like, I love deli sliced meats, but only certain meats taste good deli sliced. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, not every meat tastes good deli. Like, if you had steak, I don't like thinly sliced steak. I really don't. I just like a thicker steak. And I know you like the triple steak stack, but I just really like, I like to grab a steak and I like to, like, you know what I mean? I like to pick it up with a knife and just, you know, put it in my mouth and just gnaw on it. I like to gnaw on steak. You know what I mean? I don't know. And honestly,
I mean, I like a steak, but I like burgers more.
Dude, the best thing I've ever tried meat-wise is definitely steak. Steaks, hands down. I can't even tell you how like sometimes, dude, I've tried steaks. There was a time period where me and my friend, when we'd watch UFC fights, we just get a steak, and we get different cuts from like Hy-Vee, Walmart, Price Chopper, right? And we'd go to like the fresh cuts, you know, dude. Some of those steaks were like, I don't know. There were a couple of them where like I thought I was gonna like. It was so delicious. You know what I mean? Like, right? I would bite it and I would just like keep it in my mouth for like a good minute, just to like let all the juices of the meat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you have to definitely cook it good. Like, it's all about how you prepare it. Like, I'd rather have a steak from a restaurant than cook. Like, if I were to cook a steak myself.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on how you cook a steak, right? Like, because I cook it.
Like, you do a bunch of research. You know what I mean?
Well, do you like it well done?
No, I don't think anyone likes it well done. I think it's like
it well done.
Well, I don't know if I've ever tried it. I might actually like it. I don't know. But everyone always says well done's the worst. So it's
it's because it's so dry. You got to get medium rare. I'd almost go rare if rare didn't. Rare, I've seen people eat rare and it's almost too much. Like, it is. I have to like.
That's where you like thinly cook. You cook the outside just enough to where it's brown, and then everything else is raw, pretty much on the inside.
Yeah, it's just
that's a bit much.
It's a bit much. I see medium rare because medium rare is actually like a little bit more of a cook on it. I could not take rare, dude. I've seen people eat rare and I've literally almost thrown up. Like, I mean, they're just gnawing at a raw piece of meat.
Well, that's what steak tartare is. It's just raw meat that you're eating.
Okay, but it's different though. I'm saying, like, isn't steak tartare though? Isn't that like cut different?
It's seasoned. You put a bunch of oils on it, and then you serve it usually like with something else too. So like it helps a little bit. It's not just eating a plate of meat, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying, dude. When you have like, I seen someone do just bite into one and like blood kind of come out, and it's like
liver King. He's the one who does that. He eats a bunch of like.
Oh, I've seen that too. Yeah, dude, did you see that he like talked about how he lied about how like this isn't the only diet he's on? He's also on steroids. And dude, there were a lot of people who were like, yeah, you don't get a body like that just because you ate raw meat. Like,
yeah, it's the problem is that like he's gotten so much criticism. A lot of people have been like, just say that you do steroids. Like, it's okay. People do steroids,
right?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people do it. Like, even The Rock, he does kind of do a little like wink, like I don't know, you know what I mean? He doesn't say he does it, but he does kind of like. I'm not gonna say it, but you know.
I think. Well, here's the thing, and here's what I know about people who work out. If they don't do steroids, they do everything up to steroids, right? Like I'm saying, like they're definitely supplementing their testosterone.
You can get a certain level of shred, I think, before using steroids, and then still look good, but you're not going to be like bodybuilder level. Like you can get shredded like Bruce Lee, like how Bruce Lee, like you could see he was cut, or you could see all his muscles, but he wasn't like muscles on top of, like, he had no neck. Like, you know
Well,
what I
that's what
mean?
I'm saying, yeah, and that's what I'm saying though. Is that, or even then though, and even Bruce Lee supplement. What I mean is, you could get a good, really fit body, right? Like you could look like like you said, Bruce Lee or somebody in that category, or like a Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know, you could look like these guys, but I'm saying to get like a freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? Where he's just like every single muscle on his body is maxed out. There's no way, right? There's just no way. There's no way, right? Like there's just no way. You know what I mean? It would be stupid as well not to. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like when you found out. Have you seen that thing where it's like Lance Armstrong cheated by blood doping, which is where you have more oxygenated blood, and they found out if they were to sit there and look at everybody who had blood doped, the 18th place person would have won. If they'd taken out everybody who had blood doped in that race, all the races they wanted to be like 18th or like 20th. You know what I mean? Like way down the line, where like everybody's doing it.
It's like people forget, like he still had to do it. Like he still had to like go on the get on the bike and then race that. He still did race that fast. Yeah. Like,
I hate, and that's another thing I hate is when people like, I'm not saying I like Barry Bonds, and I think Barry Bonds should have all these records technically, but I'm saying like he still has to hit the ball. Like Barry Bonds, like steroids doesn't help you hit a baseball. But yeah, okay, now it'll help you hit a home run because you're hitting it harder, or you're hitting it better, but it's not going to help you hit a ball. Like that takes a lot of skill.
The whole thing with him was he was performing at a really high level, and then people were surpassing him because they were using steroids, and then he kind of did it as long as he could straight.
Yeah.
And then like he's like, all right, now let's see what happens when I use steroids, and then he just was blowing him out of the park.
You can see the year that he juiced up too. He went from like 35 home runs to like 60, like in one calendar year. Like
that was the big question because he's like, oh, I just work out more, and he's like, well, then how did you work out your head? Like, how did your head get like? Like, how is that possible? How did your head, your hat, you have a larger hat size for like this year, It's rough, but I mean, he's still great. I mean, I don't know much about baseball. I know Barry Bonds because he's like one of the most famous guys, but yeah. What teams did he play for? Was he a Pirates guy?
Pirates and Giants. When he juiced up, it was for the Giants. No, I think Barry Bonds before steroids would have been a Hall of Famer. That's why I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think if you just take away all the steroid years, he still would be a Hall of Famer. Like he was that good.
Well, baseball has like a history of like punishing people pretty harshly, like the Black Sox in 1919.
Yeah. Baseball though, people were using steroids before that was like regulated. Like that's also another thing I hate is that like you got to realize it's not always fair, right? Like it's not a 1-for-1 thing. People just juiced up differently.
Wait, who do they consider won that year? Like in 1919 because did the White Sox fix it to where they won, or did they fix it to where they lost?
It to where they lost. You can't fix it to where you win.
Oh yeah, I guess you really couldn't. I mean, well, you could mess with the other team.
Like someone else. Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of, but it's not the same way,
So but do they still consider that person the winner that year?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. They have to. It's not that other team.
That would suck. Can you imagine someone doing that in the Super Bowl? Like right now, like let's say like the Eagles and the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl, and you find out the Eagles like just purposely lost for like millions of dollars. You'd be like, what? Like, you know how crazy that would be?
Well, I mean, you don't know the Eagles players would do that. I mean, come on, dude. How much money?
I'm saying like if you had like 5 of the starters do it, that wouldn't be a lot, but that would be.
What do you think the number is on that? By the way, like how much would they have to pay you to throw the Super Bowl? Like, you think Atlanta threw the Super Bowl?
If it was my team, like if I was playing for the Vikings, my team that I love, then I couldn't. I don't think any amount of money, because especially since you're already getting paid millions if you're up to that point. You know what I mean?
Well,
especially if you're a starter. If you're a starter, you're getting paid millions. Like even starting O linemen get paid like.
They take Kaylee. They have a gun to her head.
Okay. Fine. Then yes. Then is that what you want me to say? Then yes, I would make it to where the Vikings lose the Super Bowl. Okay. Jesus. If that's how far you want to go with it.
No, I'm just saying like no price. I'm saying you're already making millions. I'm saying they know that they're gonna hit you at your knees. Dude, Brady. I bet they told Brady. I bet Brady's wife was like.
They'd be like, hey, don't bother picking your kid up from school today.
I bet Brady's wife. I bet a couple of times Brady's wife was like, I'm going to divorce you if you play again. Maybe you play this year. And he's like, yeah. All right.
I don't know. It's like she wanted him to retire. It's like, I kind of get it a little bit because like, imagine you want someone to retire because then you want them to stop being such an animal. Because I bet he's like an animal during the football season. I bet he's like doing nothing but watching tape, lifting weights, like doing nothing but like conditioning his body, like working with trainers, like being in meetings. Like I bet the months that he's doing like this football season, I bet it's rough on the family. And doing that every year,
Well,
and then like it's year 7 of you asking him to retire, and he still doesn't do it. Then I'm like,
well, no, for sure. What I mean though is that, like, dude, you know what really sucks for Tom Brady? I feel like is that, like, dude, he has more accolades than any quarterback even it comes close to. And it's like he wants to do the best he can, and I get that, but it's like, dude, at some point, like, I mean, I don't know, you're like, life isn't just football, and I hate to say that, like, but like, really, I mean, I think that's just a fact that, like, you have to learn. Like, imagine not being satisfied as Tom Brady. Like, imagine you still being like, I'm not the best yet. I'm not the best.
well, that's his thing. Like whenever people would ask him what's his favorite ring, like what's the best championship he ever won and stuff, he would always say the next one.
Yeah,
Because he always wants to keep doing it. And it's like, I get to that point, you have to have a little bit of that drive, but there has to be a point in you where you're like, you're right. Like there is life beyond football. Like I still have children. I still have like other, like, I don't know. Like I can't imagine being so singularly focused. Like I want to have other interests in life. You know what I mean? Like
that's what I'm saying though. Is that, like, I mean, even with and with football, like, I really respect Tom Brady, obviously, right, for his dedication. But I'm saying, like, I cannot imagine not being satisfied. Like, that's like that. I imagine that to be a hell in its own. You know what I mean? To be like, I'm still not there yet. Like, I'm not there yet. Like, I bet he wakes up in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? After, like, in, like, you know, he's like, oh, all right, like, either going to run a 2-3 defense against me, you know, like, and you're like, dude, you've won 7 Super Bowls. Like, you've been to what, 10, 12 Super Bowls? Like, you're good. You've been to more Super Bowls than most people play in the league. Like, by a significant margin. You doubled. Most people play 3 years in the league. By a significant margin, you've won more Super Bowls than, you know, you've won, you know, 2.2 more times than people play in the league, like, years. I mean, that's crazy.
yeah, Dallas, my boss was telling me that the retirement benefit is 4 years in the NFL because they know that most people get out after 3.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of people try to, like, even if they suck, you know, even if they're like, they try to at least go until they hit their 4 years. You know, he did 7 years because obviously if you're making good money, you want to keep it. You want to keep it going.
Well,
first.
Yeah, and if you're able to keep going, I just mean Brady. Brady's at the point where he's doing stuff that, like, nobody would
He's
want.
in year 23. Next year will be his 24th season.
You think he'll play? I think he's going to play until.
I think he's going to play.
I think he's going to play until a team won't sign him.
I think he's going to play until, like, literally you're looking at a backup position. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah, like you or you're in a wheelchair. Like an Alex Smith happens to him.
I think he wants to die on the field. I think he wants to get hit and, like, he wants his limbs to just fly off of him like a dummy, and then that's it. And then the cart comes out one final time for him in his life, and then that's it.
He dies on national television. He
pulls a Chuck Hughes.
Dude, he's like the Tom Cruise of the NFL. Like he's out there just like, will I live today or will I die? Like, I don't know.
Chuck Hughes was the last guy to die during an NFL game, and he didn't die even on the field. So he got hit. He was in one of the Detroit Lions. He got hit, and then he had a heart attack, and then and they took him in the ambulance, and then he was pronounced dead at the hospital. So that was the last guy to die, and that was like 1971. So that's a long time ago. Yeah. But, like, I think that's how he would want to go. Sometimes I think about that. I'm like, is that how you? I'm like, I don't see coaching in his future though. I really don't.
I don't see. No, he already signed a contract to do TV.
To do Fox, which it's so crazy. They want him to do commentating so bad. They're just like, whenever you retire, whenever you just decide one day to retire, that's when you can.
We'll pay you $100 million. We'll pay you an absurd amount.
Whatever that year might be 10 years from now, might be today. Like, what we don't.
You might die on the field. Oh, can we take you? You know, can we call? Dude, what do they have? Dude, that would be so funny. They have like a medium speaking, like, so they have like, hey, I'm Jim Nantz here with, and it's like a medium who's like Tom Brady, and they're like, hello, Jim Nantz, it's so great to be with you. And it's like a surrogate for Tom Brady to talk through.
As soon as they hear that Tom Brady's gonna retire, they take one of those cattle guns and they put it up to Chris Collinsworth's head. And they're like, all right, make way for the new guy. And then
dude, but they have like a medium. What do they have, like a medium speaking through like that? I don't know. Like, it's like, like she has to do like a whole ritual before Tom can come into her body. I'm speaking with you from the afterlife. And dude, like, could you imagine how weird it would be? Like, in the middle of it, she loses Tom, and she just starts coughing a lot. And you think she's like gonna die? That would be...
It's really sad because, like, I don't know, one of the biggest things that I kind of look forward to at the end of a great quarterback or a great player's career is like the retirement press conference where they're like,
Yeah.
you know, like Peyton Manning had a super emotional retirement speech at his press conference and whatnot. And same with John Elway, he had a very sad one. What's his name? Roger Staubach had a but like now, like with Drew Brees, he kind of just posted online. He's like, I'm done. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just like, why wouldn't you want to have like a nice little speech?
I think part of that though is just they want to like it's it's the humblest thing to do, right? Is to be like, look, guys, I'm just they don't want to have like this big thing about it. They just want to
to make a speech. I don't think is. I mean, I don't
no,
think it's.
What I'm saying is
you still be humble.
Oh no, for sure. I'm not saying it's not humble, but I'm just saying it is also humble to do what they're doing. Like with Larry Fitzgerald, where he's like, I'm not. I think Larry Fitzgerald will come back if like the right thing happened. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing is Drew Brees would come back if X, you know what I mean? If the right scenario came up. I mean, what Tony Gonzalez talked about how he almost came back after the first year of retiring. And you see people do it all the time. Football players will come back after 1 year of retiring, right? I think that's really what it is.
So hard to give it up, especially when you think you could be making more stats. It could be just because there's also it's tough for guys too who might not make it into the Hall of Fame. I mean, like, and if I played one more year, maybe I could get.
Well, Eric Weddle retired with the Chargers, and then he came back. Literally, he didn't play all year. He came back just for the Super Bowl run with the Rams. I'm saying if there's a QB that went down for like a team, like if the Ravens were like, hey, Drew, you know what I mean? You want to put on the, you want to put on the pads, I think it'd be sick, dude. I don't know if I could see him in the Ravens though. Like it'd have to be the right team too.
Well, what if they did that to like Tom Brady when he's like 57? They're like, we need you. Like our guy is out, and we're about to make a run. Can you come in?
That
fun. Would be crazy. Dude. He might play till he's 50. A part of me is wondering if he's gonna break the oldest player ever award, which is George Blanda currently at 48 years old. He only has to play like 3 more years.
He probably will. I can't
imagine.
This
August he turned 46.
Well, dude, if he was willing to go through a divorce just to play this year, I mean, I just don't see him retiring on his own behalf. Like I really see a team being like, Tom, we can't sign you. You're not good anymore.
I think all 32 teams have to.
Yeah. No, I think you'd call every team. Even if dude, and I do think he would do it. Here's the thing too, though. Quarterbacks get injured. You don't think a team like freaking, Carolina would be like, dude, we'll sign you for 1 year, dude. Like, just get in here and do something.
Well, the problem is that if you have a guy who might be your franchise dude for like 15 years, you don't want to give that up for a guy who might make you a Super Bowl contender for 1 or 2 years. Like, that's kind of hard to ask.
It would happen. No, but it would happen. Like, say Kyler Murray gets injured on the Cardinals, right? And they're like, hey, look, he's out the whole year. Tom, you want to come in for 6 games?
If it's week
10. Say it's week 4.
I'm talking about just who he's going to sign with next year.
Oh, but dude, another team will sign him. He's going to sign with another team. He's
definitely not going to be with the Bucs.
He'll go to the Raiders. I bet he'll go to the Raiders.
Everyone keeps saying the Raiders. I just really think that the easiest path to the Super Bowl right now is the NFC, and I think he wants to stay in the NFC. I think he really does.
Well, dude, that's the thing. You talked about how like, he won a 7th Super Bowl. Dude, he cherry picked that team. He's Tom Brady. He cherry picked a team that was ready to go now. He's
going to analyze everything about the team. But the problem is that the Raiders are drafting like 2nd or 3rd. There's a lot of problems on that team.
But what I'm saying is, but the Raiders have a good wide receiver. That's all he needs. Tom Brady needs one really great wide receiver, and he can carry a team. I'm saying you put Tom Brady on the team, it'll be, it's not going to.
He might go to Carolina. Some people think Carolina.
I don't think he's going to go to the. I feel like the Raiders only because he wants to go to California. I do think he'd prefer an NFC team. If he gets a chance, I think he'll go to the Rams.
There's talk about him going to Miami because his kids and his ex-wife are in Miami, so he could be around his kids. And they're still kind of up in the air about Tua on whether or not he's going to be good to go this season or not.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think he'll go to a warm state as well. I don't think he's going to go to cold again.
I mean, he's another thing that people don't realize is that he's never had a home indoor stadium. All the stadiums he's ever played in for home has always been outdoor.
Yeah, I just don't see him going anywhere that's cold. So, and I also don't see him going to the Raiders only because of Pat Mahomes. Now he might like to challenge himself, but I mean that
he's like he's not going to go to the Bears. He's not going to go to like you know
yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah, I just don't think you'd go to a division that would be like rife for oh, we need a whole rebuild.
He could go to Seattle. He might be good in Seattle.
Seattle's
that's the North team that he might go to. Maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I just see him going there with a good coach. So it would definitely be like LA, probably not Carolina. I don't see Carolina. There's nobody there at Carolina. It doesn't. He might. I bet him and Sean Payton might hook up. I bet they might be like, hey, look, you want back in the league? Dude, he might.
People are talking about that. Like wherever Sean Payton goes is where Brady might go. Like they might be talking.
I think they definitely have that kind of, because I think he wants to play with great. He wants to make another run. He doesn't want to play on a team where we're rebuilding for 5 years.
And I still hate Sean Payton for the bounty gate and for beating us out of going to the Super Bowl and potentially winning with Brett Favre, which would have been the greatest moment of my life that he snatched away by literally like having them all attack his like left side or whatever, which is insane.
I mean, okay, dude. Okay, low key, dude. I'm not saying they should have done what they did. They should not have paid players extra. But to say you're going to attack a player's left side, I mean, dude, I'm sorry, but if Michael Jordan has like a weak left knee, I'm going to go to his left every time. I'm going to attack the left knee.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like the bounty part is what is crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean it's disgusting to think they would pay somebody extra to injure somebody,
especially if that person is 43 years old and has to be literally. He had to be taken off the field in a gurney. I don't know if you remember that. He literally got gurneyed off the field in the fourth quarter.
He didn't get gurneyed off the field, dude. He came back.
Totally did.
He threw the interception, and dude, as much as you want to say about Brett Favre, dude, he gave him that game.
He's a man of steel. Don't get me wrong. And he did almost win with if it weren't for that fourth quarter pick.
No, that's what I'm saying, dude. He gave him the game.
Yeah, so it's like we almost still won. We almost still won the game regardless. But I don't know. A lot of things are up in the air with the Vikings too. Like I've been thinking about that. Like I really don't know if we're gonna have a similar year as this year next year, because you got to think we're gonna have a more difficult schedule, and we're gonna have the same quarterback. Not that Kirk Cousins sucks. It's just he's mediocre, and we're gonna have. I think unless we make significant changes at our defense, which we have fired our defensive coordinator.
I think that's it. I think that's the move you need to make.
I think we fired our defensive coordinator, so if we get a good defensive coordinator and a good defense, we have a shot at having a similar record. I'm not saying I don't think we could do better than 13-4. I think that's
dude. You know what upset me? Because we gotta do our final thoughts in a second. But what really upset me real quick about Arizona and how everybody's talking about it was Cliff Kingsbury, who I do think wasn't the best coach. A lot of it was also Kyler Murray, dude. He would not make adjustments. I seen this video where they talked about how they could clearly see a rush coming on the blind side, and he looked around. You know what I mean? He's supposed to look at all the field, and he wouldn't call a defender over there. He wouldn't call somebody to block. He wouldn't tell the running back to block that guy. You know what I mean? And like, I'm like, dude, when Kyler Murray's only like, here's the issue with Kyler Murray, and I love Kyler Murray, and I think he's a good quarterback, but like, he's so athletic and so good at running around and throwing the ball and finding an open guy that like, he's literally done that. Like, that's what his career is. He doesn't need to read defenses because he can just run around and make something happen. But in the NFL, dude, you need to read a defense. Like, at some point, you need to say, hey, look, this guy's going to be open right away. You need to make a fast read. You can't just run around and make something happen. You know what I mean? It was just ridiculous.
He's also failed to have a sophisticated play calling. I mean, he hasn't been good about studying tape and being a diligent
dude. That's what I'm saying. You don't put in there, you need to study 4 hours of tape a week if he's not having that issue. Like, I'm sorry, but like, that's an issue that you can't. They wouldn't say that to Michael Jordan. They wouldn't say that to Tom Brady. They wouldn't say that to Patrick Mahomes. They wouldn't say that to anybody who's at the top level.
And then some people are saying that they think he's just cutting it on and letting it play while he plays Fortnite or something like that. You know,
dude,
he's a big gamer.
Dude, he literally. Here's the thing about Kyler Murray. I think he's so.
Like, he did it to himself.
Yeah.
He literally had the GQ 10 things I can't live without, and the first thing he put was his Xbox.
Dude,
like,
yeah,
come on, dude.
Dude, Kyler Murray, I think he's really great. I think he has the potential to be a really good QB. I think he's a top 10 QB. But it's literally because he's just so talented. Like, he just has that talent, that innate talent, you know what I mean? But he's not, I don't think he has that, like, he just doesn't, he's not a student of the game, you know? And I think some of that is blamed on Cliff maybe, but I don't think it's all Cliff, right? Like, I think if Kyler, you know, because here's the thing, and this is what Cliff knew. If he gets in a fight with Kyler, who's going to win out? Kyler Murray. Because the thing is, when you have your franchise QB, you're not going to give that up for a coach. There's so few times you pick a coach over a QB. Like, literally, dude, if Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes got into it, who do you think the Chiefs are going to pick? Right, and I hate to say that, but like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, if it was they could not reconcile their differences. Who are you going to pick? Who are you going to pick? Like,
it's definitely without hesitation, Mahomes.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm sorry, and I think Andy Reid. I don't think that would ever happen because Andy Reid's really a great coach. He really is a great coach, and I think he would overcome it. But
he's also just a nice guy too.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
not like a guy that starts problems with people.
Yeah. At the end of the day, though, who do you?
Fantastic friends.
At the end of the day, though, dude, you take, you know what I mean? You take your all-time, franchise once in a lifetime QB, because there are not that many once in a lifetime coaches. There are, very few.
People don't want their Super Bowl window to close because some people's it closes for decades, and exactly. You know what I mean? And so it's like you're like, all right, right now we have somewhat of a good team that we could put together a run, and like if a few things change, if we lose this player, we could be the Browns. You know what I mean? Like we could. It could turn. You could be the Browns or the Jets or the Lions for a long time if you.
And say what you want about like the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick issue. I think the Patriots chose right. I would not have taken Tom Brady over Bill Belichick only because Tom Brady, he's older. Like he's gonna have to, at some point he is gonna suck. Bill Belichick probably signed like a 10-year contract or said, I'm gonna be around for 10 years, and he'll at least keep them in contention, which he's done. And even now they may not be all that good. But I'm saying like they're not. They've never once. One year they were really bad, and they went to the playoffs the next year. And then after that, Tom Brady just cherry-picked a team, and I think it's fair. Like he did what he should have done. He cherry-picked a team that was quarterback away from going to the Super Bowl, and it was smart. And he got a lot of ring chasers. You know how many players signed for like 1 to 2 years after Tom Brady signed there? A lot.
They're kind of doing what they do in the NBA, where like wherever LeBron goes or wherever like Kevin Durant goes, like they'll just put together a super team and then win a championship.
Yeah, like five dudes who are like top level athletes, but like maybe not at their best anymore. Will go to that one team. They're like, yeah, I'll sign a less contract so I can win a championship.
This is like at some point, like you already have your millions. You want a ring. You want that.
Exactly, dude. You want to win a title. You know what I mean? So you're willing to take less. Like, dude,
you don't want to be like Charles Barkley.
Yeah. If LeBron got the chance to play with Michael Jordan, like, I bet he would take less. I bet LeBron James would only, like, if he had the chance to play with somebody he idolized as a kid, like Michael Jordan, he would take less.
There's also a lot of egos at play there, too, because then they're both kind of like, LeBron thinks he's better than Michael Jordan, too. So.
Well, what I'm saying, no, I think LeBron would solve his ego. I think Michael Jordan wouldn't. I think Michael Jordan absolutely wouldn't. You know what I mean? I think he would be, like, crazy. Dude, have you heard where he talked about like how he yelled at like Dennis Rodman, and then he's like Dennis Rodman needed to take like a short vacation? Like he literally, dude, like Michael Jordan is so intense with winning. They talked about how like they were scared. Players were scared of getting yelled at by Michael Jordan, not Phil Jackson. Like he was gonna tear you apart.
There was a scene like that in The Last Dance where he punched this guy in the face who's like 6 foot tall, which is like pretty short for like the
for the NBA.
He's like the smallest guy on the team because. They kept calling fouls because he was like playing dirty during practice, and then Phil Jackson kept calling fouls on him, and then he just like punched the dude in the face that was in front of him, and it happened to be like the smallest dude in the team, but he was like he was like and he even cried. He's like, because he felt bad about how he treated people.
Yeah.
To get the results that he wanted,
And that's the thing, though, is I think like Michael Jordan recognizes that now. But I'm saying that's how Tom Brady's going to be. He's going to realize, look, I took it too far sometimes. I was a bit intense. I
don't know if he was as intense as Michael Jordan was.
Dude, freaking Tom Brady said. I mean, like that's what Ryan Kirkpatrick would talk about. Would like how Tom Brady he does not shake the opposing QB's hand. Like he will now because he's kind of gotten over it. Like where he said he signed the ball that he threw the interception to, for the San Francisco 49ers, but he's talked about how much he hated doing that. Like, he's definitely gotten to the point to where I think Tom Brady now would do things that are nice and kind. But, like, dude, young Tom Brady, Ryan Fitzpatrick said every time he's beat Tom Brady will just walk away. He won't even say congratulations. He'll just walk away. like, he said he hates Tom Brady.
He had a real nasty loss to Ryan Fitzpatrick when he was on the Dolphins.
Dude, come on, dude. You got to
That was a nasty one.
I always tell people will get in. I've heard so many people apologize after like I lost, like, oh man, you played really well. I'm really sorry you had to lose. I'm like, dude, my only goal when I play anything is to be as good as I can be. If you beat me because you're better, then that you earned that. You know what I mean? If I felt like I played the best I could, then I'm going to congratulate you because that you're better.
It's like that scene. It's like the scene that I really like from Anchorman. It reminds me is that like when he's like lamenting because like that his girl stole his job, like Veronica Corningstone stole his job.
Yeah.
And then he's like, the worst part is she's better than me.
Yeah.
That's such a that's such an intense thing. Like you know that there was definitely like Garoppolo was sitting there in some bar in San Francisco after he lost to the Chiefs, and he was like, you know what the worst part is? Mahomes is better than me. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
we lost not because of a stupid mistake I did, but like because he's so good. Like he could just play through it.
To me, it's funny because I don't think that's the worst part. To me, that's the best part. Because the thing is, if Mahomes, to me, knowing that somebody's just better than me, tells me, look, I've done everything I can. I can't play defense. It's kind of like what you're talking about with George. Was it no, not George Blonde? It was what's the guy for Frank Tarkenton? Frank Tarkenton.
Yeah, he's like I can't throw the ball and catch it too.
I say you play the best you can. That's it. Like that's all you could do. Mahomes couldn't catch the ball against Tampa Bay. Like he just lost to a better defense. That's it. Like and I think going out like that is really admirable, and I think that's what makes me be okay with it, is knowing that I did everything I could do.
Yeah, it's like when they dragged Joe Cap off the field in 1969 because he had broken ribs and he was covered in mud and everything like that, and they lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs that year. That was the best. A lot of people think that was the best Vikings team that ever lived. It was a 1979 team.
Well, what I'm saying is that like it's the same way though. Like if I'm Atlanta, I'm really disappointed in my performance, right? I'm really disappointed with like how I played because I didn't play my best. If I'm New England in the 17-0 or 18-0 game against, freaking the Giants, I'm proud with how I played. You know what I mean? Because I'm saying we didn't come out here and play worse. We just didn't. They just played. They just got lucky. He closed his eyes and threw the ball up, and somebody caught it on their freaking helmet. You know what I mean? Like luck just wasn't on our side today. And I don't know. That stuff I just I can get over that because I think sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Mahomes might win a second ring now.
Dude, I'm excited.
They're not a dynasty until they win a second.
Well,
ring.
That's what I was about to say. I think, and I told somebody this. Me and you talked about that. I think they're a dynasty until they don't go to they have a possibility to be a dynasty until they do not go to the AFC Championship game. They've hosted 5 in a row. Now that's a record. If they host 10 in a row and they only win 3 championships, I'm sorry, but that's a dynasty. Like that, you can't host 10 in a row or any amount in a row. You know what I mean? They have to win a second one though to be a dynasty. They have to win 2.
Say New England did 8 in a row.
They went to 8 in a row. They didn't host 8 in a row. They went to 8 in a row.
Oh, so you're saying the Chiefs has a record for hosting it?
Yeah, they hosted it 5 times in a row.
So this is going to be the 5th time?
Yeah, this will be the 5th time, dude.
Man, that's crazy.
Dude, if they go 8 in a row, dude, I'm sorry, but that's a dynasty. Like, you can't...
To host it, too, it means you're better. You had a better record.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got a little luck this year with, obviously, the DeMar Hamlin situation.
They might get beat again by the Bengals, though.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Oh, who knows?
Hey, listen, you bitter Vikings fan. They're not going to get beat.
I'm saying I would be really happy for the Bengals because they're the only team left in the playoffs right now that haven't won a ring in their franchise.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to
gotta let them have it.
I'm not going to be happy. I'll be happy after. I want the Chiefs to win 2, and then I'll be happy. Mahomes needs to have 2. We cannot be like the Aaron Rodgers, okay? We can't be the Aaron Rodgers situation, which we already are.
I want the Vikings to win 1, and then they could suck for the next 100 years. I could care less. Dude, I want them to win 1.
But dude, Mahomes cannot be Aaron Rodgers, right? Like we can't just win 1. I guess he already went, and Aaron Rodgers hasn't even gone a second time. But still, I can't have that.
He's only appeared in a few NFC Championship games. He's had a bad playoff record besides that one run that he made.
Well, that one year it was really unfortunate. I really want to say he really might have 2. That one year they went 15-1. Do you remember their offensive coordinator? His son committed suicide or something, and so he actually wasn't at the first game. That's when they lost. They lost in the divisional round because the offensive coordinator couldn't be there because his son's like, you know what I mean? The family literally.
That's a pretty valid reason to miss. You know what I mean? The fans can't be upset at him for that.
That's what I'm saying. Like I feel like that one year he might have won it. So I want to be like, it's like an asterisk. He might have had 2 Super Bowls, maybe.
Well, for me, the concession stand is closed for Aaron Rodgers. Okay, I'm not giving him any concessions. He's trash.
Do you want to share your hidden gem?
Oh yeah. Let me see real quick.
I want to say my hidden gem for this week is She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. It's a John Wayne movie. One of my favorite John Wayne movies.
Okay. Have
you seen that one?
I don't think I have. No.
Yeah, it's kind of slow, but I just really like the way it's more funny, and I just really love the way that John Wayne throughout it. I just love his character, right? Like there's just this really kind of like regal quality to the he's like the last of he's leaving the army as like a last 5 days or last week in the army before he leaves, and there's this kind of just like ode to like those like old army days, you know, like when they didn't have technology like we have now, you know. And I just think it's really nice. It's like a really communal thing. Like the actual phrase "she wore a yellow ribbon" isn't even about John Wayne. He just happens to star in the movie. So this girl and her relationship with these two other privates in the army. But I just really
that was actually a famous drill cadence. There's like cadences that you know tell the story. And she wore a yellow ribbon. It's been like a cadence for like 100 years now.
She wore a yellow ribbon in the U.S. Cavalry. Cavalry.
Yeah, every branch has their own version. Like the Marine Corps had like she wore a yellow ribbon in the Marine Corps infantry, like type of thing.
It doesn't quite have the same tune. I don't know. And the Marine Corps infantry.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, it's different with each branch has their own yellow ribbon thing. But my hidden gem would probably be Ultraviolet with Mila Jovovich. If you like flat stomachs and samurai swords, it's the pick for you. You know what I mean? It's an awesome. It's dystopian. It's pretty much, to be honest, it's pretty much just Resident Evil 7. It came out around the time, like in between one of the Resident Evil movies that she was making.
Yeah.
So it is very similar to Resident Evil. It's its own thing, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
Dude, I wish we had done. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I know it's a Kurt Weimer though, because he also did Equilibrium.
Equilibrium's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
But what I was gonna say though is I really wish we would have put a Mila Jovovich in the freaking tournament, dude. I wanted to line her up against.
Oh,
Steven
dude,
Seagal.
we didn't have any chicks in that one, dude.
We
She would have been great.
She would have kicked Steven Seagal's butt, no doubt. That would have been nice. That would have been nice.
She would have chopped his head off, dude. She would have been amazing.
Dude, seriously, she's such a good action star. I think she's fantastic.
She might be my favorite actress, period, just in all movies ever.
Wow. That's a big
That's so much. Yeah, I know. I like her a lot. She has like this like motherly quality about her. Like it's not, you know what I mean? It's like kind of nurturing, but kind of like I'll kick your butt too. But like, yeah. I don't know. When some chicks are like kicking people's butts in movies, I am kind of, there is a little bit more of like, yeah, like you like it, like you know what I mean, like a little bit like a little bit of like snottiness to it, you know. Or I don't feel that way with her. I feel like she's just genuinely good, you know what I mean.
I feel like the one thing that also a lot of Mila Jovovich movies do is that they really do have like a good sense of like, she's not just picking up dudes who are like 300 pounds. Right, like there's a good sense of physicality.
Yeah, there's some realism to it.
She's actually doing similar things to like what she'd be able to do. Because sometimes, I mean, you've said that before. Like a 90-pound woman will like beat up a 200-pound dude. And I mean, like the thing is that they could. I mean, have you seen the UFC? Hoist Gracie would do that to dudes who are like 300 pounds. I mean, the dude's only like what 140, I think, if that. And it's because you have to use certain kind of physics. You know what I mean? To like, you have to know how to like turn your body in a certain way to throw somebody. Right? Like it's with judo. Like a judo throw. Like
with the moves that they're choreographing, it's just extremely unlikely.
No, I'm saying some of the stuff is unlikely, but I'm saying I've seen it in movies where they'll do that to where they'll know like what I was saying, where like when somebody jumps up on your head, and you know what I mean, and if they jump up on your head a certain way, they could flip you, right? Like, but if they jump up on your head and they pick you up, you know, like straight up just deadlift you, right? You're like, well, that would never happen. Can't deadlift a person.
There's a scene like that in Hobbs and Shaw where this girl who's like a small petite girl was like doing all these crazy jujitsu like moves on The Rock in Hobbs and Shaw, and like she wasn't, but his strength was just overpowering whatever she was trying to do because he had just so much more strength than she was. Whoa. And so like she was kind of just fighting to get away. She wasn't fighting to win.
Yeah. You know? Well, that's what I mean though. Is that, and even though like even Hoist Gracie though, when you take on big dudes, right? Like he would dominate the big dudes. And these guys would be 300, 500 pounds. You know what I mean? They're huge. But it's because he knew how to use, you know, like, again, the leveraging. He can use their power against them, you know?
Hoist Gracie is also a dude.
Well, no, but I'm saying, no, regardless, though, I'm saying, like, dude, let me put it this way. If you run at me, right, as fast as you can, and I literally leg sweep you, you're going to fall on your face. Like, that's just a fact.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to be better.
I'm saying, but, like, there is some degree of, like, strength that does play into it. You know what I mean?
But okay, if you run at your wife and your wife literally leg sweeps you while you're running full speed, you're gonna fall on your face. Like that's not a novel.
My wife knows her place. Okay, she knows. I'll let her put her hands up, but I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Like, if there was a real fight that we were really getting into, it wouldn't be close. It would not be close.
Dude, you're gonna get in trouble now, dude. She's like listening to you.
No, but it's like, but she's not like one of those. She's not like a fighter. Like she. Remember I was telling you she gets hurt by like really small things.
Yeah.
So like,
I just meant though that like I just meant like the it doesn't matter what happens, right? Like I'm saying like it doesn't matter somebody's weight. If they know how to maneuver or manipulate your body, you can just use all your weight against you.
I think most of the time that's true, but I think there is some weight differential that it becomes so significant that it has to play a role in the fight. You know what I mean? Like
it does.
becomes it's so like you know.
Okay, but you talked about how like when you're obese and when you're muscular, your body doesn't know the difference, right? What I'm saying is The Rock, because of that, his joints are going to be weak. Dude, if I kneecap The Rock, I could beat him up. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I cripple him, like there's a chance I have. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't think you have a chance against
The
Rock.
Dude, I'm not saying I do because I'm not trained, but I'm saying Hoist Gracie, right, who's trained, right, who's not as big as The Rock, dude, he's shown that you can do it. It's because you can have, dude, it's because you can't help but be weak in those spots. Dude, if you hit the back of his knee, his body's going to drop. If you hit his spine, he's going to be, like, if you hit RNF, he's going to be paralyzed. Like, he's a human. He's not a robot.
Eventually, he's going to get a hold of you, and it's going to be over.
And no, look, dude, I've seen it. I'm telling you, that's not how it happens, dude. I'm telling you, dude.
It's going to be over.
I'm not saying me specifically.
It's going to get dark really quickly. You're going to get tunnel vision, and then boom.
No,
that's going to be it.
I'm not saying I'm saying Hoist Gracie could take on The Rock. I bet, dude.
Did you ever see that clip of
what?
Did you ever see that clip of when Chuck Liddell and Steve-O did a reality show together, and Steve-O asked Chuck Liddell to choke him unconscious, and he did it? Did you ever see that clip? Dude, you should look it up. It's hilarious because he always wanted to go unconscious from that, and then so he did it, and then he like.
Yeah,
it was so hilarious.
What any final thoughts?
My final thoughts would be that The Rock is awesome. Oh no, Mila Jovovich would beat up The Rock with a gun.
I think I'm not allowed to be. I definitely think if you know what you're doing, I think you could beat anybody. I don't think that's why people still respect Bruce Lee and say he's the best fighter ever, right? Like
even though he's not a real fighter.
Dude, he did really fight. He's
a movie fighter.
No, dude, he actually fought. You didn't know that?
Captain Kirk's not the best astronaut that ever lived.
I didn't say that. Bruce Lee actually fought. Bruce Lee actually.
No, he did fight. He had 3 professional fights in his life. He had like a really.
And actually, he would complain about how in before him, fighting was you would pretend to kick or you pretend to punch. You'd be like, all right, 1 point. You know, you wouldn't actually make contact. Okay. That's what I'm saying. He would say that. He said, no, that was a thing before Bruce Lee. He would say that's not even fighting. He said it's fake.
He also got paralyzed in a real fight.
Because the guy took a cheap shot. Have you seen the movie?
That's what fighting is.
The guy didn't quit. He was bowing to everybody. And then the dude ran up and like freaking kicked him in the back and paralyzed him. That's not fair.
Okay. I'm just saying I don't consider him a real fighter. He's
Bruce Lee would definitely would have won, dude. I have no doubt. I have no doubt Bruce Lee would probably beat most people. But anyways, this is my final thoughts. Is that when you fight, size doesn't matter if you know how to fight. That's it. That's the truth.
The Rock.
No, dude. There's no size. It doesn't matter. Dude, look up. Hoist Gracie fought a guy who's 400 pounds, and he beat him easily. Well, it wasn't easily. He did get a hold of him, but I'm saying like, and then he still got away though, because it doesn't matter. It's like the rabbit and it's like the tortoise and the hare. You gotta race your race. You gotta fight your fight. Yeah, if you're saying, hey, if I can box The Rock, then I'm going to lose because The Rock obviously just knocked me out.
Or pure power.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's okay. But even then, look at Mike Tyson. Who would win, Mike Tyson or The Rock? The Rock's bigger than Mike Tyson, but who would win?
Well, then he uses his speed to his advantage. You know, he has his knockout power. He has a lot. Knockout power is also something you can't teach. People have talked about that a lot. Like, you have it or you don't. It's like it's a very weird thing. I just mean, dude, my final thoughts are, dude, size doesn't matter in fighting. It only matters to the degree that, like, you know, you're willing to use it in an intelligent fight. Okay, I'm gonna go fight a bunch of 6-year-olds just to test your theory. I'm just gonna go to a kindergarten, just start drop kicking people. Okay, they don't even have full brain development. That's not even fair. I want to go massacre a bunch of midgets. No, I'm just joking. That would be fun though. When's the last time you saw like the you know, where they do like 10 midgets versus like a normal dude? That would be fun. Do they still do fights like that in the UFC? where they have like.
They've never done that. I don't even know. They've never done that in the UFC. It's never been a thing.
I don't know.
That's like a WWE thing, dude. That's not a thing. That's definitely not. Well, hey, man. On that note, I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Goodbye.